afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Augusta Richmond County Commission. Before I get started, I'm going to remind everybody we got some great local basketball teams that are competing for state championships on Thursday. So if you're not doing anything, you ride down to the great city of Macon and let's support the Westside Patriots in the T.W. Josie Eagle girls basketball game starting at 1 o'clock. Looking forward to bringing more state championships back to Augusta, Georgia. Madam Clerk, with that, I call this meeting to order.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Call your attention to the invocation portion of our agenda, which will be shared with us today by Reverend Dr. Dwayne M. Crew, pastor of the Williams Memorial CME Church. Will you please stand?
Greetings. It's a pleasure to be before you this evening. Gracious Father, we thank you for those who have gathered here today. We ask you to continue to spread your joy, your wisdom. Most of all, share your love and unity amongst the Augusta area. We thank you, Father, for what you've already done in Augusta, and we look forward to your continued blessings on the Augusta area. In the mighty name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Reverend Crew, we thank you so much for taking the time to come and pray for us today. We truly appreciate and we value your spiritual insights that you shared with us today. We're especially grateful for the fact that you petitioned heaven on our behalf, and for that we're grateful. By these presents be it known that Dr. Dwayne M. Crew, pastor of the Williams Memorial CME Church, is the chaplain of the day. May his spiritual guidance and civic leadership serve as an example for all citizens of Augusta. Given under my hand this 5th day of March, 2024, Garnett L. Johnson, Mayor. Mr. Mayor, he would like to have a photo of you presenting that to him, please.
I'll be honored to do it.
Okay, you want to come over? Okay. Yes, for a special. Go ahead. Here. Mr. Mayor. What do you need?
Yes, sir. Reverend Crew, thank you again for that much needed prayer. We appreciate all that you do for this community. Madam Clerk, let's continue.
Call your attention to the delegation portion of our agenda. Our first delegation, Minister Dante Barley, regarding holding business license holders accountable.
Mr. Barley, good day, sir. If you will, for the record, please state your name and address.
My name is Minister Dante Barley. I live at 1814 Fayetteville Drive, apartment K8, Augusta, Georgia, 30904.
Thank you, Minister Barley. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Well, this evening, I bring to your attention the business license of people that's not holding their property up to standards. What I mean by that is that we look at the business license and the alcohol license. We keep giving alcohol license to everybody, but no one is holding these people accountable for what goes on. And that is a very concern to me. Because when we look at the business license and the alcohol license, we're saying yes to everybody, but why are we not holding these people accountable for those licenses? Because to me, if I was a business owner or I was a liquor license person, I would like to be held accountable for that. Because we have so many deaths in Richmond County, we need to start looking at a different route to go with that. Because if we keep giving a liquor license and alcohol license to everybody, then what are we doing as the commission? Just saying that everybody can get license?
Are you asking a question or are you making a statement?
Asking a question.
All right, I don't think you can ask any questions. You could certainly, once you get done with your presentation, if there's any colleagues in the queue, we will certainly address any questions that you ask. Okay, so let's continue. You have about 3.5 minutes.
Because a lot of times we look at business license, every day it's the same thing. Business license, business license. We're not holding these people accountable. So therefore, if somebody walk out the club, get drunk in the club, walk out, get hit by a car, then what are we looking at? What are we looking at? Because we have more deaths in Richmond County than any other place.
I think that's a mischaracterization. That's not true. That's based on your opinion, but you can continue, sir.
Yes. So my thing is this. We can come up with a plan to actually hold these people accountable for what they do. Because therefore, if you allow everybody to serve alcohol to 21 and up, we need to say, okay, we can serve alcohol, but what is the procedure to somebody getting alcohol going out on the road being killed for no apparent reason at all?
All right, does that conclude your presentation?
Yes.
All right, I got a colleague in the queue, but Minister Barley, I'm just going to remind you, this great democracy that we have, it asks for voices from the public to run. This is qualifying week. If you want to affect change on this commission, you're more than welcome to qualify and come do the role that my 10 colleagues and myself do on this commission, okay? So it is qualifying week. But there was a colleague in the queue, but I do see Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Bobby Williams. You have the floor, sir.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
Well, I'm a little confused. Tell me, what do you want to come out of this? What's your purpose for being here today? Because you got rules and laws that govern certain things. So what do you think we can do to help this situation?
Well, first of all, what we can do is actually put a limit to how we can go about the different routes. Because if you really look, 1, 2 o'clock in the morning.
What routes?
Off of Gordon Highway, off of Dean Bridge, off of the area of number 1.
Now I'm going to ask you a question. That probably sounds stupid to everybody. Are we talking about drinking and driving home a certain way? Or what are we talking about?
Drinking and driving home on a certain way. Because actually, we have too many kids getting killed in Richmond County for no apparent reason.
I got you. Okay. All right.
Thank you, Commissioner Williams. Seeing no other colleagues in the queue, Minister Barley, we certainly appreciate you coming down, Appreciate you being part of this delegation. Okay, you have a great day, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Madam Clerk.
Okay. Our next delegation, Mr. Melvin Kelly, regarding affordable housing and homelessness.
Good day, Mr. Kelly. As you make your way here, you doing all right today?
Hey, man, yeah, I got a little bad foot, but that's all right.
All right, take your time.
I'm gonna make it anyway.
Glad to have you in the number, sir. If you will, for the record, please state your name and address.
Melvin Lorenzo Kelly, 2014 Olive Road, Augusta, Georgia.
All right, sir. Mr. Kelly, you have 5 minutes.
All right, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I recently sent most of y'all a newsletter, a copy of what I sent to the President of the United States, talking about creating employment and employment training, and also how I feel, and maybe some other people feel, the Department of Housing and Urban Development needs to be changed, because there's too many homeless people in our country, not just in this city, but Florida, New York, California, and people sleeping outside in tents. Even people that have positions of employment, they can't find a place to live. And right here in Augusta, it seems as though I believe each and every one of you have been seeing it. People sleeping outside in tents. So that's just my opening statement. Now I want to talk to you about the different homeless shelters in Augusta and what can be done, what I believe can be done to help eliminate that problem of people sleeping on the streets. I feel as though Augusta needs a homeless shelter operated by the city, something a little different from what the Garden City, Augusta Rescue Mission, or the Salvation Army is doing. They've been doing the same things for the past 15, 20 years. And I appreciate this service, and I'm pretty sure everybody else do too. But it's not good enough because times has changed. And if you want to come out of that situation, you have to change along with it. So and also the responsibility of helping the homeless and building low affordable housing, that's the government's responsibility. That comes through the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So it's nice that these religious organizations are providing shelters, but they have their own rules, laws, and regulations, and most of the public don't have anything to say about it. So they can do what they want to do. But it looks to me like you're still in the same spot, and it's gotten worse. You know, a grown man shouldn't have to come in to go to lay down and go to bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 5 o'clock. He wants to get out and do what he needs to do to better himself. I don't know if any of y'all ever slept in any of these shelters or familiar with the ways they operate, but it is a little complicated, especially when you're trying to get up on your feet with their rules, laws, and regulations. And like I previously said, that's the government's responsibility. So if HUD's not complying to what they're supposed to be doing, then the citizens, the people have the right by the Constitution of the United States of America to demand that they change their ways of action because no one's benefiting from it. And most of the time, some people just don't want to say nothing. But we have the right, according to the amendments that's in the Constitution, to say, hey, y'all, you are not doing a good job, and it's time for a change. You know, and you have that right. So I'm looking at I have a proposed project for you now. I'm not going to walk out here and leave you empty-handed.
Come on now, you got a minute and a half to give it to us.
Okay, well, I got a minute and a half to give it to you, and if I can't finish today, I'll come back again. But I think one of my proposed projects could be pretty good. It involves teaching young people how to build, because there's nothing like teaching young folks how to build, and they can keep it forever and build and build and build. You know, when you're part of the building process of your community, you kind of think twice before you tear it down again, you know. And I didn't say before you tear it down, I said tear it down again, because that's what's going on. You know, you got a lot of, Augusta's a beautiful city. It's beautiful, but it has some patches in it that needs some support. And I don't want to rush, and I don't want to fall out breathing too hard. So I think I'm just going to have to see if I can introduce this program to any one of y'all, maybe a little later on. If I have to come back.
You got 90 days. You can come back in 90 days, or you certainly can continue to reach out to us via email.
Okay, you only get to speak once in 90 days?
Once in 90 days. Is that right, Madam Clerk?
Okay.
On the same subject.
Well, that's fine. So I'll email it to you then.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, I believe my proposed project could help the city a lot. Like you got second chance jobs, you got AmeriCorps, you got the district attorney trying to implement checks before stripes. You got a lot of stuff out there, but the building industry is very, very, very important, and you can learn some good trades for that. I'm looking at you, Mayor. You're getting ready to tell me my time is up.
You're running about a minute over. But
so what I'll do then is I'll come back and talk to you after the meeting.
You got it. Well, listen, I want to certainly applaud you for your effort and your advocacy in that you keep us informed and you email us. You email the White House, and I want to continue to encourage you to do that. But there's a few people I want you to add to your email because this homeless problem is a very complex issue that we cannot address it without the help of our federal legislators. So in addition to writing the White House, make sure you write Senators Ossoff and Warnock, because if we can get funding for mental health and other programs that come down to the local and to the state and local levels, it will greatly benefit us, all right?
Yeah,
so
but you just took some of my minutes up, right? You just took some of my seconds. You just took some of my seconds up now, so you should go ahead and give me a few more.
So I'm trying to help
now, wait a minute. Now, let me just explain this to you. You got state senators and other people I've been writing to. They do not respond, all right? It's hard to get them to respond. Maybe you'll have to write them and see if they respond to you.
I'll make sure I pass your emails on. You keep emailing us. I'll make sure you pass them on. And they come to town. Whenever they come to town, you make sure you find out their agenda and you show up.
Okay.
That is your right as a citizen.
Right.
All right?
I just
and they have offices here in Augusta.
Mary, you just keep taking all my seconds.
Okay. All right. All right, Commissioner Brown.
You're taking them. I'm going to come back.
All right.
I'll come back.
Mr. Kelly, I just would, and thank you for your words, I would invite you to have a conversation with the Salvation Army. They recently purchased property, and we'll be building a new, bigger, and better shelter in the near future. And I think that it would be to hear their vision and how it's going to be kind of transforming and what they're going to be doing. It'll be much more public here in the next few months, and I think it's going to really help the community. So, and I can give you that contact if you email me. Thank you, sir.
Have a great day, Mr. Kelly. Madam Clerk.
Our next delegation, Ms. Patricia Jeter, regarding community centers, sidewalks, speed humps for the Harper Franklin Avenue in Kamek.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. If you will, Madam, for the record, please state your name and address.
Patricia Jeter, 4102 Elders Drive, Elderberry Subdivision.
Will the other folks be speaking with you as well?
Yes, they will.
Let's get everybody to introduce their name for the record.
Christopher Park, 4309 Regans Lane, Augusta, Georgia, 30909.
All right, Mr. Park.
Frank Stribling, 3502 Kamek Drive, 30909.
Okay, sir.
Johnny Hickson, 3503 Kamek Drive, Augusta, Georgia, 30909.
All right, guys, combined, you got 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm not going to take too long, but I would like to start out by saying that our area, which is West Augusta, outside of Gate 104 Gordon, is one of the fastest growing areas in Georgia. Well, actually, Augusta. I'm not sure about Georgia. We have a lot of residents there. We have approximately about 10,000 plus residents and growing in that area because of cyber, the expansion of cyber. We have a Aruba facility that's being built in Hepzibah that's impacting these residents moving to Augusta. They need somewhere to stay, and we just a popular area. We have no community center that actually will benefit the entire community in our area. It would enrich our area. We have a lot of disabled veterans in our communities. We have disabled residents, elderly, and Fort Gordon, which they do PT. A community center would actually empower our area. It would enrich our area, and it's very well needed. I did speak to the pastor, Willie Boyd, the Friendly Church of God in Christ. He owns property on Jimmy Dias next to, right in our community, and he's willing to sell 5 acres plus if you all make him an offer. And he's also willing to do land acquisition. Elderberry has only one ingress and egress. We are a somewhat dangerous, of course, the Department of Engineering has made it somewhat safer with the speed humps, but we still have a lot of challenges with the one ingress and egress. There's speeding still coming through, and our residents can't even walk. I've helped disabled residents actually trying to walk in the street to get to the facilities in our community. So I'm requesting sidewalks for our community.
3 minutes.
Okay. And speed humps. We need speed humps for Harper Franklin. That is a speed trap, motor speedway. They get on Harper Franklin, it's like a drag strip. They run through the stop sign, the three-way stop, and people are walking in the community and jogging. Camac as well. So I have some other residents that would like to speak.
Hi, like I said, my name is Christopher Park. I'm here to talk about, I have a medically fragile and challenged ADA daughter, and our family is not able to walk around our community because we do not have sidewalks in the community. So when we do, on the very rare occasion, have the opportunity to get out and actually walk, we're forced to push our daughter in her wheelchair on the street and pull her medical equipment behind it with oncoming traffic and so on and so forth. So I piggyback off of Ms. Jeter with the sidewalks.
Thank you, sir.
Again, I'm Frank Stribling, and I'm here to represent Barnett Crossing Neighborhood Association. I happen to be the president of it. We had the utilities director to come out, and he put up the lights on the poles and everything. I was requesting that we could possibly have a four-way stop. It's on the corner that I live on. He did his test for whatever number of days, and he came back with his results saying that we didn't have 80% of speeders going 10 miles an hour or over on that road in that area. It turns out, I sent him a picture of it, that, and I think Mr. Williams can attest to it, that someone came in that same intersection and down into the cul-de-sac and did what I call a burnout, when you hold your foot on the brake and you give it the gas and take off. And so, again, the speeding is the problem. Safety is the issue. And I think it would be good to just be progressive.
Thank you, sir.
I don't have nothing else to say. They don't say what they had to say.
You sure?
I just want to make one other comment. We do have problems with safety. The other night we had just someone out in the street just shooting random bullets. This goes on maybe 3 to 4 times a week. Someone's just out there just spraying gunshots through it, and those stray bullets do fly through buildings and so forth. These same kids, which I believe they're kids, they're walking through our property because they have no sidewalks in the street. So that puts us at jeopardy. We don't know what they might do when they're walking through their yard. We don't know who's what when our community cameras are picking them up on our property. So again, we would hope that you would consider our request for a community center. That land I'm talking about is in District 3, Ms. McKnight's area, but it's also in our community. And definitely this would empower this part of town, and we thank you for listening to us.
Thank you so much. Now, I have some colleagues in the queue, so sit tight. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Bobby Williams.
How you guys doing today? All right, Ms. Jeter, you and I, we've had 3 or 4 conversations about the community center. Brigham Center was built with SPLOST money. We're going to build one at Dyes Park that's going to be built with SPLOST money. Newman Tennis Center is going to be revamped, about $4 or $5 million. That's SPLOST money. Fleming is going to be redone. That's with SPLOST money. The conversation you and I had was we need to wait for the next SPLOST. When we look at what Augusta's trying to do, we're trying to find money to build the boathouse. And we don't know whether or not we're going to tear it down, build it up, but we know when we decide to build it, it's going to cost us $5, $6, $7, $8, $9, $10 million. Now, right now, and I'll let the other folks speak to you, but right now I couldn't get 6 votes to build a community center, not like Brigham, $8.7 million from anybody at this point in time. Now, when SPLOST time comes up, we're going to meet about the SPLOST in a couple of weeks or so. We can have that conversation, but that'll be a conversation that we'll have with everybody, from you to Mr. Stribling, and I just learned it's now been calling Mr. Sterling for about a year now, and everybody in your area, Elderberry, Asbury, Breckenridge, Buckhead, and if there is a common mind, then that's something that we can put on the SPLOST list. Now, it'll take 6 votes to get it in. When you say sidewalks, let me go back. When we secured the $500,000 for the lights on Jimmy Dice Parkway, I had people calling me from all over the Fifth. What are you doing? We need lights on Barton Chapel Road. We need lights on Meadowbrook Drive. We need lights. What we got to understand is that each of these districts have about 25,000 people in each of these districts. So your commissioner has to play this situation where, do I go over here and take care of them? Do I go over here and take care of them? I've got about 4 areas that want sidewalks and lights. Now, the thing about Barton Chapel Road, I'm not sure about what your previous commissioner did when it comes to the TIA, but with the TIA, Barton Chapel Road from Riceboro Road all the way over to Deansbridge Road, they're going to get lighting, they're going to get sidewalks, it's going to be widened, because there's about $20 million in the TIA. Now, if your previous commissioner had made a request for lighting and or what have you per the TIA, then you would probably have some money in there. Now, you're talking about speed humps to on Harper Franklin. Of course, we can have Mr. Ursary. Is Mr. Ursary in here today? Is Dr. Malik in here today? Guys, just stand up.
Yeah.
Just stand up.
You
can just stand, Dr. Malik. We can always have them to come out and take a look at the streets. They can redo, just like Mr. Stribling. We're going to have them to go back out and take a look, because, you know, summertime and school time, you're probably going to get a different set of folks coming through your neighborhood. So I've asked Mr. Ursary, I'm not sure if he's done it, probably not, but we're going to get them back out to take a look at the neighborhood and the traffic that's coming through the neighborhood during the school year, because I can guarantee you that you got a lot more people on the road than you do in the summertime, so it may make a difference. And I think you had you said something about shooting or what have you. Now, you can call me and I can do the same thing that you do. I can get up a little bit higher than you, but we all need to call the police, folks. So if you get shooting, call me. I can call Sheriff Roundtree and or Mr. Chu to try to get some folks. You laugh. Have you talked with those folks?
Yes, sir. I talk to Captain Whitehead on a regular basis. The shooting occurs sometimes at 3, 4 o'clock when kids are getting off the school bus. They're out there just shooting like crazy. And so the other night it was about 11:15, and they were just spraying. I mean, it was like a third world country over there. We don't know who's doing it, but it's in our community. And so they're working on flock cameras. But flock cameras only pick up the tags in the community. One other thing, sir, I wanted to say, we did come to you about the community center. And I do remember we had like maybe 20, 30 people here. And you did mention that you would look at putting it in Splash 9. So perhaps I missed that part of the community center as far as requesting for allocation in this current Splosh 8 because that's already funded for specific projects. So I'm looking at Splosh 9. One more thing, you did mention the lighting. The lighting is something that is a basic necessity for living. It has absolutely nothing to do with Elderberry individually. It's something that should have been designed and should have been there building all these communities. So therefore, I don't think that Elderberry or West Augusta 6 should be liable for what we should not be held accountable for what should have already been allocated with this type of growth pattern. Our infrastructure does not match the growth pattern. Therefore, when you put facilities there, you have to enhance the infrastructure, which includes lighting. So therefore, that has nothing to do with us requesting. We've been requesting sidewalks for 15 years. Our community is not ADA compliant. We have a unique situation where one ingress and egress. Now, according to Department of Engineering, you're requiring that communities have at least a certain amount of exits per 370 houses or something to that nature. They have to have sidewalks. But you can't just forget that we have all these disabled and elderly people in our community and still moving in, as well as disabled vets from Fort Gordon that are in this community that have nowhere to walk. We have to walk in the street in a $500,000 neighborhood.
You know, what $1,000?
These houses are going up. There's some houses back there.
You say 5,000 or 500,000?
500,000.
I got you. Okay.
Yes, and so
I thought you said 5,000 for a minute.
But it doesn't matter whether it's 500,000 or whether it's 250 or 150,000. We should not be. Our lives should not be jeopardized trying to get from one because we decide we want to go out for a morning walk.
And I agree with you 400%. Just remember that when I make decisions, I got 25,000 folks in the district. Okay? But I did want to say this. Now, we're talking about Splosh 9, and the administrator probably tired of me talking. Splosh 9 coming up. But if, you know, they build everything in Splosh 8 that's supposed to be built, and there's money left over, and see, that's how we built Brigham. We had money left over, and we squabbled about it. They finally just said, Bobby, you take the money. Yeah, you take $7 million and run with it now. So there are possibilities. Just remember that, you know, I plan to be there after May. If I'm not, then the next person's going to have to take it. But the decisions as far as the Splosh is concerned will be made on my watch. So we'll come, we'll get you together, we'll talk with you and get things done that need to be done. Also, I will tell you this, as far as the lighting is concerned, you're exactly right. A lot of stuff should have been done because it is dark when you drive through there. I understand that some people have been hit, some people have been killed, and I understand it. No, you guys shouldn't take the blame or the brunt of it or what have you, but it was District 3, now it's in District 5. So when they think of the area, they think of District 5. However, it is something that enhances all of Augusta. I understand that. I understand your plight. I hear what you're saying. Thank you.
And I have spoken to Commissioner McKnight. I did speak to Commissioner Scott in regards to the community center, probably maybe six months ago. Time goes by fast, but we did discuss about possibly, say for instance, with the community center. And I don't want to shortchange myself, or our community, but it can be done in phases. You start out, and you
build a community center, we're going to build a community center.
Well, then, hey, let's do it.
How do you build a community center?
$15 million. That's what we're looking at. We want this to be a cornerstone for Augusta because of cyber and because of what's going on.
Me talking.
Yeah, you guys are going on about 20 minutes here. We got a bunch of other folks that we got to help out.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it. All right, Commissioner McKnight, you in the queue?
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you, Mrs. Jeters, for coming out and speaking. I don't think I was thrown under the bus by my colleague over there in the District 5, but I had worked very hard and advocated for the neighborhood, as you know, and I want to see a community center and what all you've asked for and your residents. But I just want to make sure that we know that I'll work with District 5 Commissioner still, even though you're not in my district, to continue to do. I know that you went into District 5 about a year after I got on the commission, year and a half, so I'm still going to be willing to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner McKnight. Madam Clerk, I think that takes us to the consent agenda. We have a couple more folks that's on the delegation, but let's get through the consent agenda as you recommended, okay?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, before we get started, can we address the proposed addendum agenda?
Yes, we can.
And just if we receive it without objection.
Is there an objection to any of these three items that are on the revised proposed?
And we want to add item number 22 to the addendum item as a deletion. Ms. Mathis is not available today to be with us. Item number 22 for deletion.
Oh, great. Okay. 22 for deletion.
Okay, so we'll just.
34 is being deleted.
Sir.
All right. He says 34 is being deleted as well. Wait a minute. 34? No, Brian Green's.
Item 34.
Oh, that's 34. Okay.
Okay.
34 for deletion. All right. I'm going to go through this queue here. Commissioner Garrett, you're in the queue, sir.
Thank you. Ms. Bonner, with Commissioner Johnson requesting number 2 on the addendum, do we need to wait for him to be here?
No, sir. You can address that for the reappointment. But, I mean, out of consideration, you can if you like.
I think
We can do that.
I think we just move forward and do what needs to be done.
Okay. To reappoint.
To reappoint. All
Okay.
right. Is there any objection to any of these proposed addendum items? All right. Don't hear any. Commissioner from the 7th.
I'm ready.
Are you ready to vote? All right.
Well, we're just accepting it, right? So
Yeah, we're gonna
now
accept it.
I'm going to the consent agenda.
Let's go to the consent agenda.
Okay. Our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 20. Items 1 through 20. If there are any objectors to our alcohol petitions, would you please signify your objection once the petition is read? Call your attention to item number 1. It's a request for a retail package, liquor, beer, and wine license to be used in connection with the location at 3745A Peach Orchard Road. Are there any objectors?
Any objectors to this matter? Seeing none, let's continue.
Item number 2 is a request for an on-premise consumption premise for a liquor, beer, and wine license for a location at 2059 Gordon Highway. Are there any objectors?
Any objections to this matter? Seeing none, let's continue.
Okay. Item number 3 is a request for an on-premise consumption for a beer and wine license with Sunday sales for a location at 1135 Broad Street. Are there any objectors?
Any objectors? Seeing none.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Commission, our consent agenda consists of items 1 through 20 with no objectors to our alcohol petitions.
All right. The chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Sean Franham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull agenda item number 10, please.
Item number 10.
And then I'd like to add the addendum number 2, and then on 35 and 36 to consent.
Thank you.
35 and 36. All right. Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Bobby Williams.
I think Commissioner Franham took care of it.
All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Brandon Garrett.
Thank you. I'd like to add to consent items 30, 31, and 32, and 27.
27. All right. Yeah.
And Ms. Bonner, just for clarity, I wanted to make sure that the removal of 34
Yes, sir.
Okay.
It's on the consent for deletion.
Commissioner Fram, you asked for
Can I
clarity.
get clarity on just number 30? Is that it's 50,000 without any form of deduction, correct? Administrator needs in somebody.
Commissioner, no. So my request today would be to alter this by 1% as directed by the commission, or if you would choose to keep it at $50,000.
I would like to keep it at 50.
Okay. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 3rd, Commissioner McKnight.
Yes, I'd like to go ahead and see if I could pull 32 for discussion.
You're going to pull 32?
Yes, for discussion.
Okay, you want to take it off the
You want to take it off
consent agenda?
consent? You want to take it off?
That's
Okay.
Okay, 32 is removed consent. All right, Commissioner Francine Scott from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to consent 26.
26. All right. Seeing no objection to that, Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you. If nobody has any objection, item number 24 and 25, I appreciate Hawthorne explaining how the flow charts work, both on residential and commercial. Thank you.
All right. 24 and 25.
No, he's adding them to consent.
So you want to
24 and
consent them?
Yeah.
But with explanation?
I'm sorry?
To clarify that, you want to add to consent or you want him to present?
I would like to add to consent agenda item number 24 and 25, sir.
All right.
The supplemental information revised supporting documentation is attached to your addendum agenda.
That is correct.
All right. Thank you. Commissioner Bobby Williams.
Did we do 33?
No, sir.
Let's do 33 if nobody has a problem.
33. Okay. You want to consent that? All right. Commissioner Brandon Garrett.
Motion to approve as stated.
Second.
All right. I have a motion by Commissioner Brandon Garrett and second by Commissioner Francine Scott. Madam Clerk, let's make sure we get, because we've been doing a lot of moving here.
Okay.
Make sure we get a picture
All right.
of all these.
We'll start. Item number 10 being pulled by Commissioner Sean Frantham. Deleting item number 22. Adding to consent items 24, 25, 26, 27, 31, 33, deleting item 34, adding 35, 36, and item number 2 on our addendum agenda.
All right. So we have a motion and a proper second.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Francine Scott, you're in the queue. You good? If not, Madam Clerk, we're prepared to vote. Let's vote.
Ms. McKnight, okay. It's unanimous.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. Before we address the agenda, we have one delegation that we want to address.
Yes, item number 23.
Item number 23.
Presentation by Mr. Brian Green regarding our city charter and progress.
All right. Mr. Green? Please, for the record, please state your name and address.
This afternoon, Brian Green, 2429 Mount Auburn. And Mr. Mayor, if I may make this motion, that we can we can consider maybe putting a timer up here for the speakers. Maybe that'll be helpful. We can kind of monitor.
We can certainly take that into consideration for this body.
I think it'll help.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll make sure I count you down. When you get to 1 minute, I'll let you know. Okay.
Okay.
You got
Thank
it.
you.
All right. You got the floor, sir. I'm starting over. So
Thank
starting
you.
right now.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Here to talk about city charter and progress. It's kind of unique as far as those two together, city charter and progress. I'm here today because I feel now, almost 30 years later, it's time to review our city charter. I think it's a little outdated. I think it is vague in certain areas, and this vagueness may could lead or does lead maybe sometime to legal or political loopholes. And my purpose for coming here today was to say, isn't this time? I did email all the commissioners. I know y'all probably have several different emails and all, but I emailed the one on site. If you get a chance, take a look at it. I know it's kind of lengthy. Please excuse that. But I didn't want you all to say I was sneaking up on you or anything like that. And it really goes more in detail what I'm talking about here. But we've got to look back to 1996 up to now, almost 28 years later, and say, what's the dividends on consolidation? Some services being cut. Government continues to grow. I know that happens, but it's just time, folks. And keep in mind, we've got friends on the Hill in Somerville, and I think Forest Hill, who in 2022 made an effort to unincorporate possibly. I don't know how far that will go. I don't know how far that can go, right? But it does say something that people are getting frustrated. And to this commission panel, I'll tell you, people are talking about this right now, about this whole thing with consolidation. I read something about Mr. Mark Oates. He's a renowned economist. He wrote something in 1982, but he's dealing with consolidated governments and all that. And one of the things he mentioned was the economy of scales, and that is the belief that if you create something bigger, a bigger government is more efficient, a bigger organization, and it's not. That's a misperception. I was at some of these meetings. I heard the presentations about consolidation, but I do remember one company saying that they didn't necessarily recommend it. And I'm not here today to blast consolidation because we're consolidated. It's almost 30 years later. But I'm here today to say, can we make some adjustments? Just a few things. Commission meeting issue. If this happens to go with the House bill in May, I did put on there a filibuster. I want this commission to know I'm a verified person, that, if this bill passes about the vote thing, you still have a filibuster situation with a 2-week review. But if you have any questions, I can further give you dialogue on that. And I will tell you this, nothing personal here, but abstentions for the past 30 years has really, really, really held us down. We've got to rein in on that. We need some clear language on that to where is more justifiable, or some kind of regulation more so than what we have now. It's important that Augusta moves forward. I'm not here to insult anybody or, whatever, and I hope that's not the case, but we just really have to look at that. The hiring process, we need to know right up front if the person, whether it's fire chief, city administrator, whomever, consultant company, do you know anybody in Richmond County? I said, do you know anybody? Do you know anybody in politics in Richmond County? Do you do business with anybody in Richmond County? They need to answer that up front. Right up front. Well, search your memory. Make sure you got any kin folks here. I think that's very important to know what somebody's affiliation is. And talking about that, I know we have current two dynamic. Yes, sir. Thank you. Two dynamic finalists, and I like to say that's a rarity here for the most part. And I commend both finalists. I think are very credentialed and very well qualified. I just think if we clarify our charter rules, I think it's going to help. And last, ladies and gentlemen, let's have respect for the written rule. You have to stop at a stop sign. You sign contracts when you're a business. So it's written. And with that note, the mayor has made his decision on this process. Is a written process as far as our administrator. Again, no offense here, because I just commended both. But we have to say, give due respect to the written rule. It's there for a reason. It's not there if you like it or have personal hang-ups with it. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Green. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Sean Franham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Green, for coming before us. You come in front of us, bringing different issues, and this is one that I'm passionate about and believe in. First of all, let me say the Somerville issue is not going to happen. It's just not. There's other cities that tried it, and so that's one thing I wanted to say. The second thing is that we went through the process of hiring an administrator through a process that was in the charter, and we followed it to a T. And you know, we have a former administrator that's in the media this past weekend saying that we did the process wrong, which is totally false. And I think that it's important that the citizens support a charter review. And I'm fully convinced that I'm going to bring it up, or someone is going to bring it up in the next few months, because it needs to be reviewed. I'm one person, but I truly believe that we need to be more of a city manager form of government. I believe that the manager ought to have the ability to do the hiring and firing of the 16, 17 department heads that we hire, but there ought to be some kind of power up here, and what that looks like, I'm not sure, but I think citizens need to understand that, because at the end of the day, when you're hiring people and they have 11 bosses, that's a problem. I mean, who wants to come work in that situation of a government? So I believe that over the next few months that we'll have this discussion, and hopefully we'll get to the point where the citizens will get the opportunity to vote to change the charter, or there'll be a panel review, whatever it is. But like, it is definitely time to have this discussion because it is definitely hampering how this government functions, and it's creating a lot of diverse things happening within this government that doesn't always shine us in the best light. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Mayor, may I just please make a quick comment to
You
that?
better make it 2 seconds.
I will.
All right.
I would just mention, you're exactly right, Mr. Franum. Commissioner Franum, I would just point out those people in Somerville, as far as their zeal is concerned. When people get fed up with something, they make a move. They put action behind their words. That's the only reason I brought that up.
Thank you, sir. Stand there. We got a couple more in the queue. Commissioner Brandon Garrett from the 8th. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Thanks, sir, for your passion. And, you know, I can hear it in your voice every time that you come and speak to us. I am all in for having a review of our charter. I said at the year 25 mark we should have done it. I mean, at some point you have to look at what has worked, what has not worked, and, you know, the charter should be a living document where we're able to amend it as needed as time goes. You made some comments about abstentions, and, you know, I have seen past commissioners and current commissioners use it as a tool in order to hold up processes, and, you know, the way that this charter is written, it's allowed. This is the first board that I've ever sat on where Robert's Rule of Order wasn't the governing rule, as well as when you abstain, you don't have to state your conflict of interest. Every board I've ever sat on, when you abstain, you have to have a conflict of interest. Otherwise, what's the point of you being on a board? But one of the interesting things about our charter, and I'm sure you've read it, the role of administrator is not even in it. That was added after the fact. And so once again, it's all the more reason why we should take another look at it and see if the administrator role or county manager role is the way that we should go. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Garrett. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Green, thank you for coming before us and bringing this forth. We all realize that the charter is an antiquated piece of wording that we are held by. There's only one other city that follows the same setup, and it needs to be changed. There's no doubt about that. You know, the management form of government is probably the better way of going, but you have to be careful on who you choose. No different than the people that came before us said you'll end up with a glorified secretary. Now, when it comes to abstaining, I would hope that attorney would chime in that if somebody abstains, they have to give the reason why it's a conflict of interest. If it doesn't state in our book, I think we should have to reflect to the Robert Rules of Order. Attorney Brown, do you agree with that?
I'm not prepared to, had no notice on this, I'm not prepared to examine the charter and all the rules that Augusta go by at this time. But there is no ruling by law that an extension is improper or illegal.
Right, I understand improper or illegal, but if you abstain, should you have to disclose the conflict, sir? Or you could do a written opinion later for us. That'd be fine. That way you could be prepared, sir. I don't want to catch you on the spot. But, Brian, thank you for coming before us.
Mr. Green, certainly thank you, as always, for all of your community work and your community activism.
Mr. Mayor, 1 second.
Hurry up.
I do plan on following through with this. I'm going to consolidate this list. It's going to our state legislature and our state senate. So there's going to be some follow-up other than talk.
Come back to us in 90 days. I think it's 90 days. Thank you, Mr. Green. All right. Madam Clerk. I think that takes us top to bottom.
Item number 10, pulled by Commissioner Franham. Motion to approve tasking the administrator with compiling a list of all affected homes and citizens in the area in order to determine the scope of magnitude and determine an estimated cost relative to the June 22nd, 2023 flood at 3513 Argonne Drive, Ms. Rhoda M. Hand, and neighboring houses.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Administrator. Or somebody asked to be pulled, Commissioner Franham?
That's me.
Commissioner Franham.
Yeah, thank you. And I wasn't here to have this conversation last week, but I just, a little concerned. I want to understand this. So obviously we want to help the people when they have these situations. My first question is to the attorney. Attorney Brown, this seems like something that would open Pandora's box of people coming, you know, within certain timelines requesting funds, and I'm trying to understand, is this something we've done before and something that you see that we should be okay to do moving forward?
Good. I'm not exactly clear, Commissioner Franham, exactly what we are talking about doing based upon how this agenda item is written. But if you're speaking of the area that was discussed the prior week about a massive amount of rain at one time, one of the legal cautions that I tried to make clear last week, that the treatment of these flood victims has, whatever standard we set for this, we have to be prepared and have the ability to fund it for other neighborhoods as well.
Yeah.
Generally, I believe when parties come, there's quite a bit of empathy or sympathy that's occurs. However, the analysis really should be done by our two departments that are most involved of whether or not the city has any responsibility or liability for the flood, and that would be Augusta Engineering and Augusta Utilities to do that analysis. And of course, I think along with them is, to me, a proper responsibility of rich management to help decide where the responsibility lies. However, Augusta cannot be the guarantor that no one's home will flood. And in the end, for the city to use public money, which belongs to all citizens, there must be some evidence that the city has some legal responsibility as opposed to having a desire to help.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then I guess my other question is around has the CSRA Regional Commission has anyone spoken with them about funding or like had any discussions about what they do either with this municipality or other municipalities around this situation?
Commissioner, not to my knowledge. However, the intent behind this agenda item and the wording of it was to be able to gather all of those that were affected, because there were several that came forth after the fact that were not originally known by EMA as well as risk management when the original assessments were done. The fire chief would be a better source as he worked directly with FEMA and went door to door to assist those that were in need. So I can't speak to if the CSRA Regional Commission was involved at this point.
Okay. Again, I don't want us to create a precedence. I mean, we want to help people, but, you know, the guidelines of where we're going on this, I'm just trying to understand. So thank you.
Well, I also wanted to say, Commissioner Franham, that this is in no way intent by Augusta. but just a matter of us being able to understand what happened, how much of our community was affected, in what way were they affected, and then we've already started gathering data to determine what resources did some of our citizens receive, because some did receive assistance in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But this preliminary data would be analyzed, again, by Augusta Utilities, as well as engineering and risk management is already at the table to include our fire chief and EMA.
Thank you, Commissioner Garrett. Chair recognizes Commissioner Wayne Gill from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Madam Administrator, you wanted to pursue this because you did the wording on this agenda item last week. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Okay. So as far as we're going to look at utilities, engineering, risk management. Risk management already drew a line in the sand saying it's act of God as well as the other two departments. This is 9 months later. But I pulled up the one I would like to hear from the stormwater, since this is a stormwater issue. I pulled up the maps of the affected areas, including this one. In the FEMA flood zone, you pull it up and then you tap on it and it says high risk. The whole area is high risk for flood zone. So I actually reached out to an insurance company today to find out, is the residents required to have flood insurance? They only required to have flood insurance if there's a mortgage on the house. After the mortgage is satisfied, it's up to the homeowner if they want to risk of having insurance or not. It's $50 a month on average, $600 a year to have flood insurance, which if it was me, if I lived in the area, I would have flood insurance for that one reason, because it's prone to flooding. It has happened before in these past years. And some of the people that's on Catalina has flood insurance. But my challenge is, well, let me reflect back to the renters, because if we're going to look out for the renters as well, the insurance company also stated that the renters could get coverage with flood insurance for the contents of the house that they do rent. So to hear from the stormwater, is there any, Mr. Mayor, can we bring the stormwater gentleman up?
Yes, sir,
as
we
well?
can.
Because I don't know how we could task the administrator to do the study and put boundaries on it as far as what happened on June 22nd, or go back previous 10 years or the future 10 years. I don't know how you could put boundaries on who accepted the insurance money, who did not, et cetera. So this is where I'm at right now. So
thank you, Commissioner.
We could hear from Mr. Flythe. Thank you.
Mr. Flythe, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
You have the floor.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity. So, you know, for the stormwater program, it is kind of interesting and sad to follow these events, right? This is a pretty big event, relatively speaking. So I kind of wanted to show a few items here. Okay. So the area we're talking about here is, you know, kind of inside this corridor between kind of Mike Paget and Peach Orchard, along Lumpkin Road through here. So kind of in this area. But I'm going to bring to your attention a few kind of pinch points in the system. Again, just kind of showing where we are with the idea that Mike Paget is along here. And I'm zooming in a little bit because, you know, I've been lucky enough to kind of look around at some of the pinch points in the county. And there are a few that I keep my eye on. Mostly because some of these pinch points that are around the county actually don't have anything to do with Richmond County. Two of them that I keep in mind are kind of railroad crossings, and one of them is a Georgia DOT road. So these are things that really are not the responsibility of Augusta Richmond County. And I'd also like to say that maybe a couple years ago, it's hard to know how many flooding issues were avoided as a result of the stormwater program because they did not occur. But that proactive measure of cleaning structures, making sure ditches are cleaned, making sure roadsides are cut so the water can come off the roads. If you have a proactive program like we do, you have no idea how many issues were diverted over that time period. But I do know that when I did the analysis, my thought was, okay, well, let's just look at flooding complaints. How many flooding complaints have we had since the inception of the stormwater program? And the number of calls that we get, CityWorks calls, 311 calls, to go out and look and see and then kind of respond to what the issues are, those calls have decreased over time. So even though it's not a great way of telling you exactly what got diverted, it is a way of saying, look, those calls have gone down. So I believe that that proactive measure is actually very important, and I think the data also help prove it out. So what I'd like to focus in on here is, again, Mike Padgett. Here's Chester Avenue, and along Chester Avenue is the main stem of Rocky Creek. It goes under Mike Padgett, and then there's a railroad crossing just adjacent to Mike Padgett here. And all this water kind of flows off into Finnessy Swamp and then into the Savannah River. But there's another relatively big tributary that comes in just a few hundred feet away from it. And so I'll show you, I'll come back to this one in a second. So one of the things I want to show is that one of the pinch points that I've observed over time, again, is a response to flooding discussions along Chester Avenue several years ago, the recent flooding, all of those things kind of catch my attention. I kind of go out and take a look and see what's going on. And when you come out here, you can see that everything kind of gets under Mike Padgett pretty well. There are some pretty big culverts that go under Mike Padgett. There's a bridge, right? There's a bridge at Mike Padgett where Rocky Creek goes. But as you get over to the railroad, there are some bigger issues. One of the crossings, which is where this tributary crosses and crosses the railroad track, there are 6 culverts, 6 pipes that go underneath the railroad track. I don't know how they came up with the idea of using 6 pipes. My guess is they probably had 3 at some point and then added 3 more eventually. But it's not a bridge. It's not a culvert. There are 6 pipes. As we know, I'll show you a few pictures here in a minute. Stuff flows downstream, right? And so I'll get to that in just a second. But kind of the same thing for the Mike Padgett. There actually is a bridge there. So as you mentioned, this area, again, here's Mike Padgett. Here's the railroad tracks, Rocky Creek along through here, and then that tributary that comes down through. This all is colored purple, and if you look at it, it is a high-risk flood area, according to the 2017 flood maps, FEMA flood maps. So the event in question that we're kind of having a conversation around was a pretty big one. I know this doesn't, it depends on where you looked at in terms of rain events, but this one went right through the heart of the area that we're talking about. And in fact, it was right in the area that got the highest rainfall. So we're talking about 8 to 8.6 inches of rain. Well, what does that mean? Sorry, let me go back. So 8 to 8.6 inches of rain over a 6-hour period, right? This is a 6-hour rain total showing 8 to 8.6 inches of rain. So what does that really mean? There are these charts that are regionally specific. So this is specific to the Augusta area. And in essence, if you look down this side, over 6 hours, 8 to 8.6 inches of rain falls on a rain event that is 500 to 1,000 years. That more or less says you have a chance of seeing this kind of rain event 5 to 100,000 every 500 to every 1,000 years. That's a pretty big, significant event. And so what does that mean for a stormwater system? Well, most of Georgia and most of the country actually sizes stormwater infrastructure based upon 25-year events. So what does that mean for what we're talking about here? Well, a 25-year event in that 6-hour time frame really is only equivalent, would be able to pass a 4.5 inch rain event. And so in essence, we're doubling the amount of water that the infrastructure could handle. Now, I'm pretty sure Dr. Malik was the one that said, all right, we're not going to use 25 years. So any new projects that go on, Augusta, not Georgia, but Augusta sizes everything to a 50-year event. So we can pass higher storm events. But again, even at that situation, we're not passing a 500 to a 1,000-year event. These are big, big rain events. Okay, so what happens in that instance? There are 3 things that I think are very important. These are pictures that I take. I've got a project, a stream restoration project. It's on Rocky Creek. It's much further upstream. But every time I go out there, either a 1-year event, a 5-year event, very small amounts of rain actually put water up into the floodplain in this location. And so just walking through the woods along the creek after these small rain events, this is what happens. Those events move trees. They move very large amounts of debris. They move very large amounts of sand. All sorts of natural debris, whether it's small in leaf material or large in full-size trees. These are smaller rain events. This is not this 1,000-year, 500-year, 1,000-year event. These are very small events. So all of this stuff, and this is Rocky Creek, so this is just an example of what you see, especially in the wooded areas where you can kind of see where those neighborhoods are. They actually have quite a bit of wooded area around. So when that water comes up and goes out of the banks, it doesn't matter how well those ditches have been cleaned, because they can be the cleanest ditch in the entire country. But if you get an event like this, that water comes out of the banks, comes out of the ditch, it reaches out and it grabs all sorts of other stuff and brings it back into the infrastructure, whether it's a ditch, a stream, or a storm drain. Now, the question, I heard a question fairly recently about, well, why would you go out after a rain event to clean all the infrastructure? Well, this is exactly why. This is the only reason you would go do that. It's to prevent further flooding for the next rain event that's going to occur. This is exactly why, especially in Rocky Creek, just because of, all of these natural areas. So there's another pinch point that I'd like to mention. Give me 1 second. This is the railroad that I mentioned in the conversation. This is a day after those big rain events. This is that event we're talking about. This is that railroad crossing. The water is not supposed to do this at the railroad crossing. So let me go back just 1 second here. This first crossing, this is Rocky Creek. And as the camera turns this way, this is where that tributary crosses. So what's going on here? The railroad is actually causing the water coming down both Rocky Creek and that little tributary to dam up. So the railroad track has actually become a dam. And what that does is it stops all of the water at, give me 1 more second. If you take a look at the elevation of all of this location, you can see that the railroad track, the top of the railroad track is about 130 feet above sea level. So if that thing is now, if the entire railroad track is now a dam, the top of that dam is 130 feet elevation, and all the water is damming up because of that, which means that it's possible for all the water behind it now to be 130 feet elevation. So what happens? Right here at Rocky Creek, you've got areas, low-lying areas at 126, 136, but back up into this area where the flooding occurred, you're at 132, 130, 128. So there are some very low-lying areas, which is why it's called a flood zone, right? It's not supposed to happen because of the railroad, but that's kind of how that works. Those structures along that railroad were not able to pass that event. And so that is pinch point number 2. The size of the rain event was number 1. The issue with just reaching out and putting more debris into the system is number 2. And the railroad track, again, was an issue. Now, there was also another flooding event not too long ago, kind of on the south side of 520, all part of this same system, right? So it was along 520. It's where this water comes underneath 520. That was the same thing, right? So this culvert under here, there's two big box culverts at this location. One of them is full. That's a Georgia DOT culvert. That's not an Augusta-Richmond County issue. So maintenance and operations responsible to other people. I know Augusta-Richmond County always takes the blunt, but it doesn't always mean that it's Augusta-Richmond County issue.
All right.
So to follow up, I appreciate that presentation. As far as the culvert that's underneath Bobby Jones, it's GDOT's issue there. How do we get GDOT to clear out their culvert?
It turns out that they have cleaned it.
Good. As far as the railroad track over there on Lumpkin Road and 56.
So we have 2 railroad track issues. One of them, another pinch point at Richmond or Augusta Hills. At the very end of that system, we have a crossing issue. So that'll open up an opportunity to talk to the railroad about all of the other crossings that may be undersized.
Okay. Last question. What can we do as Augusta-Richmond County to prevent this from happening again, or not to make it as severe to the residents in the flood area?
So again, the preventative maintenance that we're doing, I know Dr. Malik's going to ask for more money, and the reality is it does save these things. Can we go cut and remove all the leaves off of every creek in town? No, it's not going to happen. But the forces, when something like this does happen, we need the forces to be able to go out and clean everything to make sure that those structures are going to be able to pass the next, and it might not be a 1,000-year event, but it might cause, flooding might be caused by a 2-year event, right? A really much smaller event because that 1,000-year event came in and plugged everything up. So we have to be able to have the forces to go out and re-clean everything. So I think that might be the best preventative maintenance, but certainly creating a list of these pinch points that are not our responsibility is going to be important too.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 8th, Commissioner Brandon Garrett.
Thank you, Mayor. Dr. Flight, I tell you all the time that every time I talk to you, I feel like I learn more about Augusta, and I feel like I've been in school for the last 15 minutes. So I appreciate it, and
That's what
everything
you
that
pay
you
me
showed
to
us
do.
makes complete sense, especially when you look at the way that railroad runs perpendicular to the entire area. And so, yeah, I appreciate that. Mayor, I have a question, though, in regards to the agenda item and the way it's stated. Ms. Dowse, you stated that some resources had been given out. Has any of those resources monetary?
Yes.
Okay. And This question is for the attorney, if that's okay.
Attorney Brown.
Attorney Brown.
And for clarification, Commissioner Garrett, those resources were not Augusta dollars. It was American Red Cross and I think another third-party agency as well.
Oh, that's a big clarification. Thank you. Attorney Brown, in regards to looking at this and even going in to assess the way this agenda item is stated, I know that we are facing some litigation in regards to this event and from some of those homeowners. By us having this conversation or even looking towards the other impacts, does that open us up for further litigation?
Respectful, Mr. Garrett, if we could, we do have an upcoming legal. I'd rather not discuss this matter on the floor as we do have pending litigation. But if what you're trying to get across is that we need to be concerned and careful how we approach this. This is not a neutral issue at this point.
Well, if that's the case, then I'll suggest that we take this agenda item and add it to our next legal agenda.
All right. Madam Clerk, can you make that note, please?
It needs to, do we have, yes, make a motion to that, sir.
I put that in a form of a motion that we place this agenda item on the next legal agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
In the executive
What he
session,
said.
pending and potential litigation.
No. So there's a motion from Commissioner Garrett and a second by Commissioner Francine Scott. All right, colleagues, before we vote, Commissioner Stacy Pulliam from the second.
Thank you so much, Mayor Johnson. Sir, I have a question for you. I apologize. What was your name again?
Oscar.
Oscar. Okay. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for your presentation. Like Commissioner Garrett said, I literally felt like I was sitting in class learning something. So thank you for that.
That's what y'all pay me to do, I think, so.
Absolutely. And so I do have a few follow-up questions. You mentioned how often the ditches are cleaned is not necessarily relevant to what happened in the flood?
So what I'm suggesting is if we keep the ditches clean, the incidence of flooding at a much lower, smaller rain event will actually be better. So for example, let me say it a different way so I can understand it myself. If the ditches are full of junk, a 1-year rain event, which might be a 1-inch rain event, which we have all the time, may flood people. So our job is to make sure that we are ready and that those ditches and pipes and storm structures are clean to pass the designed rainfall event, which is a 25-year event.
Okay. And so a follow-up to that is, do you know the last time that ditch had been cleaned before this flood occurred?
I don't, but we can certainly pull the information and find out.
Okay.
But having said that, again, that ditch is not a 1,000-year event ditch. So it's actually a tributary. The tributary is as big as it's going to be, right? I mean, we don't resize creeks, for example. So that particular one actually is a tributary to Rocky Creek. Same as Rocky Creek flooding, right? We're not going to go in and increase the size of Rocky Creek to accommodate a much larger rain event. Nature actually does that itself.
Absolutely. But you did say that if it's maintained properly, in that case, even if it was a 1-year rain event, basically the flooding may have, been better, or it may not have been as catastrophic.
Well, generally that's correct, yeah. Okay. But I'm not specifically saying that there's a ditch in this location that was not maintained.
Okay, so we do show that there were calls that were made in March to have the ditch cleaned out, and a letter was actually sent in with that, and it was not done at that time. So between March and June,
Okay.
when should it have been cleaned out?
So here again, let me show you. What we're talking about here is, so you can see it here. So here is a, okay. I guess maybe they shut it off. Anyway, okay.
We can continue discussing it
Sounds good.
in our session. Thank you so much.
All right.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Dr. Flaith.
I did want to make one clarification. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So the passing, the 6 or 7 pipes that are along this section of creek, by design, may actually add up to be large enough. But the fact that it's not a single culvert, right? One big concrete opening versus 6 or 7 smaller openings. They may all add up to the same area, but the reality is the much larger culvert, the one big opening would actually pass the stuff a lot better than the 6 or 7 others. So I just wanted to clarify that by design that area may be correct. It's just that a different structure will have a different result.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Fly. Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. All right, colleagues, there's a motion on the floor to move this to next legal. It's a motion in proper second. Madam Clerk, let's vote.
It's unanimous.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Let's continue. Thank you, Dr. Fly.
That takes us to items. Okay, we have items 1 and 21 on our addendum agenda. They're similar. Do we want to do the other items and then come back to these two?
We got some folks from the Sheriff's Department waiting. Let's try to get 21. Let's try, okay. 1 and 21 done. So these
28, 29, and 30, there's discussion on those?
28, 29, and 30. I say let's get the Sheriff's Department.
Yeah, I was just
some
asking.
officers.
I didn't know if they could consent them right quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
Colleagues, is there any consideration to consent items 28 and 29? Does anybody object to consenting those? They're park designs? All right, seeing no objection, Madam Clerk, let's consent those, please.
Okay, without objection.
Without objection, there's no objectors to it.
Okay.
28 and 29. Okay.
Okay, so you want to go to 21?
Let's get 21, then we'll go back to 1.
Okay.
Because I think the deputies are here for 21.
Okay. Item 21 is a motion to approve a 1-year suspension of the alcohol license for Alan Von Seeley's Club, Climax, doing business as Club Rain, 1855 Gordon Highway, for failure to comply with the Augusta Richmond County alcohol ordinance.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. I see the club owner here as well as the deputies. Deputies, you guys want to come up and state your reason why this? Yeah, we need your names as well for the record. The attorney just reminded me.
Investigator Jose Ortiz with Richmond County Sheriff's Office.
Investigator Tyler Stearman, Richmond County Sheriff's Office.
Right, thank you so much. You have the floor, sir.
We're here today in reference, or again, because of the last shooting that they had at the property of Mr. Allen, Club Rain. In addition to the shooting that happened in December, where somebody was shot inside the actual club itself. We're asking for just suspension for 1 year of the alcohol license, based on the two, one's aggravated assault, one was an actual murder.
All right. I got a few colleagues in the queue. Before I get to you, Mr. Allen, let me go to my colleague from the 10th, Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is for the officer. As far as taking away their alcohol license, they don't sell alcohol there.
That goes in reference, that goes in together with, was it the dance hall license? With the dance hall license, which is what Mr. Allen has.
All right.
For clarity, sir, do we have anybody from Mr. Laney?
Carla Delaney, Planning and Development Department Director.
How you doing, Mr. Laney?
Pretty good, thanks.
All right, as far as revoking their alcohol license, and they don't sell alcohol, so they do have a dance?
Right. The alcohol license serves as an umbrella license. Under that umbrella, you have alcohol, massage, and dance. So they require commission approval. They're not allowed by right. So each one of those types of industries or businesses would have to come before the commission to get permission to operate.
Okay, the gentleman was here before us last week as well, and he was stating that all the incidents happened outside of the building, and the officer was stating that it did happen on the inside. Do you know of anything different, Mr. Laney?
No, I would not know of the criminal activity and where it took place at.
Are you aware of and up to date with everything on this agenda item?
I have been presented with the sheriff's office requests. Yes.
Have you spoken with the gentleman who was supposed to have the letter made him aware of what was going on?
Yes, I have.
What is your stance on this? What would your recommendation be?
The recommendation of the planning department would be to have the commission take into consideration what the sheriff's office is requesting. The planning and development department would would prefer not to give a recommendation and allow the sheriff, because they have this issue and it is a criminal activity and concern, and they are just coming through the planning department because we're the vehicle to put them on the agenda. So they would actually have that recommendation, and I would like to yield to them because it is their area of expertise.
All right, now I'll wait and listen, see what my colleagues say.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Franham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like some clarity around where and when this happened. When Mr. Allen came before us 2 weeks ago, he acted as if it happened behind his property on one of the shootings, and I guess the club wasn't open in another. I just want some clarity. I mean, are you the deputy or that was there? Like, I'm just trying to understand kind of.
The one who was there is this investigator Stearman.
Okay, can you explain both situations for this body then?
The first one happened in December. That he wasn't there for that one. That one happened inside. The second one is the murder, which.
How is it not related? We got an owner that's saying that it's wrong, and I mean, don't you think that we ought to clarify whether it's right or wrong?
Wait a second, Commissioner. Let's give our legal opportunity.
I'm saying if you're asking, he mentioned a December issue is another license, is not related to this license.
Oh, I'm just talking about this one.
It's the same license. It's the same business.
It is at a different location, is it not?
No, December 1 happened in the same location. December 16th, 2023.
All right. Continue, Commissioner.
Yeah, so I'm just trying to get clarity on the owner stating that one thing happened, y'all saying another. Can y'all just tell us what happened, and then, especially if you were there for the second one?
I wasn't there for the second one. I can tell you the first one happened inside the facility. The second one, Investigator Stearman can.
Okay, can you explain what happened the second one then, since you were there?
So on Saturday, January 20th, 2024, at 02:21 hours, deputies responded to Wellstar MCG in reference to a gunshot wound victim brought in by a personal vehicle. Phone calls began coming in reference to a shooting at a nightclub, and special duty deputies at 1855 Gordon Highway, Club Rain, located casings in the parking lot. The victim was pronounced deceased at the hospital, and myself and my partner responded to the scene. We're part of the homicide division. We began investigating the case from that point, and the incident occurred. You're standing on Gordon Highway in front of the business, the southwest corner, right there at the front left. Cartridge casings were located there, as well as towards the back of the parking lot on the same side of the building.
So you weren't there, you just responded?
Right, I wasn't there for the shooting itself.
Did he have the off-duty deputies there when the shooting occurred?
No.
Okay. So can I ask the...
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Allen, for the record, you got to state your name and address. There's going to be questions for you.
Von Celius Allen. I live at 2906 Arrowwood Circle, Hillsville, Georgia.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Franham, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor. Can you explain to me just the instance he talked about? You didn't have deputies on your facility at the time of the shooting?
He just proved my point. I wasn't open.
Okay.
Plus, he said he found bullets in the back. At first, they said it was all in the front. Now he's saying they found bullets in the back. I'm confused here. I really am.
Okay.
At first, it was all in the front, but now he just confirmed that there was casings in the front on the side and casings in the back, just like I said from the first time.
Okay. Hold. What time did this happen?
The 911 call was made by hospital staff at 02:21 hours.
And what time do you open?
Open about 2.
That's 2:21, and you said you're not open at 2. You said you open at 2.
I don't open until 2. This did not happen. But
the call came at 2:21.
I don't know anything about that. He's saying he was there. He wasn't there. I was there. I wasn't open yet. You have to prepare to open up. When the shooting transpired, I was in the building.
You let people in?
No, I wasn't letting people in.
Did you let people? You told us 2 weeks ago you let people in.
I let people in once the shooting.
Speaking of the mic.
I let people in once the shooting started. I walked out because I was getting the club ready. And then once I heard the shooting, it was getting closer. So I just opened the door and said, everybody run inside. I don't even know if the shooter's going to run inside. But I mean, I just let everybody, because it was a line forming. And I just let everybody run inside, just trying to save people.
So how often do you have off-duty officers at your club?
Every time I open up.
And you open at 2. They weren't there, what time did they get there then?
That particular night, I think a little bit after 2 at that particular time, like 2:05.
Okay.
One was running late, and like I said, since that incident has happened, I went ahead. Now I have somebody come at 1:30.
Well, that was my next question. Since these incidents happened, what have you put in place?
I have one come at 1:30 before we even open up, just to have that, to have somebody out there.
You told us 2 weeks ago you have 3 deputies there.
I do.
And then you just said you have 1. So
No, I said I have one come at 1:30.
Okay, and then when does the other 2 come?
Both of the other ones come at 2.
Okay. I'm just trying to hear to help you. I mean, I'm trying to understand the situation. I'm not trying to attack you. I just think that it's important that, we are holding the accountability piece of kind of what happened, where it happened, and then where we're moving forward and what you are doing to show, the good faith that you're showing to us, because it is a concern that we're having these things happen at these establishments, whether inside or outside, is still of concern. But some of it is under your control, some of it is not, and I get that. And I mean, that's why I'm trying to understand piecemeal here what we got going on. So I'll hold my comments for the rest. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
You got it. Chair recognizes Commissioner Francine Scott from the ninth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to just piggyback on Commissioner Franham. Item 21, are we talking about an incident that took place outside in the parking lot? Or are we talking about an incident that took place inside at Club? Yeah, at 1855 Gordon.
There was 2 different incidences in the same location. One happened December 16th, and the other one happened on January 20th.
Did any occur inside the club?
The one that happened December 16th happened inside the club.
Mr. Allen, I see you shaking your head, sir.
Well, he's saying that something happened inside the club. They don't have any witnesses. They came in and investigated. The person in the hospital that has a shot in his foot said it didn't happen in that club. I mean, what can I'm going off what it says.
All right. Commissioner Scott, you good?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Commissioner Sean Fynum, you back in the queue, sir.
Yeah, I'm just going to come back at it. Can you confirm who handles the special duty officers for Richmond County?
I don't know who it is now. I know it was Barry Morrison at the time.
Okay.
Or before, earlier. I'm not sure who does it now.
Can you confirm that each night that he is open, he has 3 deputies there?
I can't confirm that he has 3. I can tell you that he has at least 2 come in. And that's coming from the special deputies or special officers or special duty officers that work there. I speak to them regularly.
Okay. Can I ask code enforcement? I think I'm wrong.
Yeah, code enforcement, are they here? I know Director Delaney, you having?
There she is.
Yeah.
Can this body, or how could this body require or make sure that he has 3 deputies there moving forward, or can we even do that, I guess, is my first question.
I'd need to consult with my legal representative in regards to that, because I'm not sure.
I've been told that we could write a letter to the DA get involved, and then it's court ordered in a sense. That's what I've been told, but I didn't think we as a governing body could.
All right. So you could make it a condition, which he's already said he already has 3. We could potentially make it a condition of operations that he have 3 sheriff specials.
How are we going to check that, I guess is my question. I mean, that's my concern. I mean, we can, because.
Yeah, I just asked legal, and that was the direction.
Well, I'm just one. I mean, I just feel like because there's a few unknowns on both. To me, there's unknowns on what happened. I haven't had one eyewitness on either situation. I think that I would lean towards the probation on this instance, but I believe that we ought to put a stipulation in that there be 3 deputies there if we can moving forward. That's just where my head's at. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Fynum. Sir?
Quick comment. I do have the incident report of the December 16th one where the deputy who was working that night actually did a report stating that people were running out, saying they were shooting inside. This is the incident report through the sheriff's office. The person who was working there that day.
Were there any casings found inside?
I don't have any notes saying that there was casings inside.
All right. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 2nd, Commissioner Pulley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My question is, it's actually not a question, it's a comment. Are we going to set a precedence of every time there's a shooting in front of an establishment, after the second shooting in front of that said establishment, we're going to require that business to have 3 deputies? Is that going to be a precedence moving forward? Because even where I live, they're shooting every night. In fact, I'm actually about to report it. And it's supposedly coming near the railroad tracks, but it's rapid gunfire. And so I don't know where it's coming from. But it seems as though this is becoming an epidemic across Augusta. And so I do believe law enforcement needs to increase everywhere. But when we're talking about taking away a business license and the establishment was closed at the time, is that what we're going to say moving forward? And that's for my colleagues.
Thank you, Commissioner Pulliam. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Bobby Williams.
Yes, sir. Thank you. As I listened to the conversation, Mr. Allen says one thing. We got the Sheriff's Department reporting a couple of incidents. What have you? My understanding is that you're seeking a year's suspension.
Correct.
Of license or whatever within that period of time. He wouldn't be able to operate, correct?
Correct.
All right. with us having some hesitation, I heard Commissioner Franham say something about probation. I do think that we probably, and we need to be consistent across the board today. I would go for 6 months probation with the stipulation that, and he said it himself, that he has 3 officers. So I'll put that in the form of a motion, 6 months probation with the stipulation that he has 3 officers.
Second.
All right, there's a motion for 6 months probation with a proper second. I don't see any other colleagues in the queue.
With that probation, he will still be able to operate. He just needs to stay within the ramifications that they give him within that period of time, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right.
All right, so there's a motion. All right, Commissioner Franham from the 7th.
I'd like to respond to Commissioner Pulliam. I think she brings up a great point, and I do think that this body needs to set some guidelines on what we can do working with the Sheriff's Department moving forward on instances like this, because I think we are, there just has to be something, there has to be some kind of progression where we're, being good faith, keeping them open, but showing, and then at some point, you got to pull, enough is enough. But I would hope, I don't know how we do this yet, but I would hope that we would try to set some guidelines working with the Sheriff's Department around these issues so that we don't, come out here and, if we had a little bit more guidelines on what we should do and set it, we'd be able to hold people probably more accountable, because we say, all right, understand this is how it is moving forward. So I'd hope that we'd have that dialogue in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Williams, you still in the queue, or you yield to Commissioner from the 2nd? Commissioner Pulliam, you have the floor, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much. This is for Deputy Ortiz, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yes, sir. Other places that report shootings in front of their establishments that sell alcohol, do they get their license revoked after the first or second time?
After the first one, no, ma'am.
Okay.
But we do try to take them here after they have more than one.
Okay.
I'll give you the first one, okay, make changes, do the right thing. We hope that you take action, that you take enough pride in your place, that you want to keep your patrons safe. So from that point on, we have to actually take action.
Can I ask Director Delaney a question?
Certainly. Director Delaney.
Director Delaney, are there records for other establishments that have had more than, especially while they're closed? I think that's the part I'm hung up on. In fact, I know it is. Establishments that are closed that have shootings in front of them, have we been revoking their license after the first shooting if said establishment is closed?
I can't attest to whether or not an establishment is open or closed. I do know that we have requested probation before for business licensing. But with regards to whether or not they're open or closed, I don't have that level of detail on the spot. But I could look and see.
Okay. And so I would like clarity on our motion. Are we saying we're revoking?
No.
Suspending it?
Probation.
Probation. So for 6 months, he can't sell anything?
No, he can operate.
Okay, understood. Okay.
The motion was for probation for 6 months with the stipulation of 3 deputies on duty.
3 deputies on duty. All right, colleagues, there's a motion, there's a proper second. Let's vote.
3 specials. 3 specials. Special duty officers.
Still waiting on a few folks. 4, 6. Everybody's going. I think everybody's going. Oh, yeah, we were already voted.
Mr. Lewis? That motion carries 6-2 with Mr. Lewis and Mr. Guilfoyle voting no.
Thank you so much. Mr. Allen, you're a businessman. You've been through this before. We would hope that you resolve this like the other matter, okay? That's all we ask.
I feel like it's a little different.
Well, it is not any different. This body has made a decision that you should remain open. You're a business owner. We would hope that this would not come back before us within 6 months, and you continue operating your business, providing your customers a service they've always received. And so today, I think this was a great outcome for your business. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you being here. All right, Madam Clerk.
Item 1 on our addendum agenda.
Yes.
Consider actions against the business and/or alcohol license of Smart Grocery and Zayton Grocery LLC Stop and Go, including probation up to termination.
All right. Officers with the Richmond County Sheriff's Department, Officers Ortiz, officers, Ms. Delaney, can you tell officers to come back for just a second? They want all you guys to come back for just a second.
She was supposed to bring back a recommendation.
Okay.
Just in case we have questions.
Okay. Just for questions. Hopefully this will be brief, okay? So Director Delaney.
I'll read the motion. The motion was to approve having the Planning and Development Department move forward with the creation of an agenda item to place Smart Grocery on 6-month probation or some other type of disciplinary action, and to provide the owner with proper notice of their intention to take such action.
It's not his case? He doesn't know, right? So if that's your case, you can take off. All right. Thank you. All right, colleagues. Motion has been read. The chair recognizes the commissioner from the 7th, Commissioner Sean Franham.
Ms. Delaney, can you, I don't have it in front of me today, but can you confirm this is the establishment where we had the lots of calls, like 1,700 calls that Mr. Whitehead brought last time? Is that correct?
I'm not sure about the 1,700, but yes.
Okay, significant. And then can you confirm that they have put some form of security? I know they're here. I'm going to ask them too, but just asking you because can you confirm that they put the security in place maybe 2, 3, 4 weeks ago now, and what that looks like, or do you know anything about that?
Smart Grocery has 22 cameras already installed.
Okay.
I think it's 22, something like that. Or 22 views. In regards to the Olive Road, I went there personally. I did see one camera. I don't know if there's more, but I definitely did see one. And so I went to both establishments personally, and I did view. They were well kept. They were clean. They do have challenges with loitering as far as around the perimeter, not necessarily at the store, but if you cross the street, there are people hanging. So right across the right-of-way, that very narrow right-of-way, you have people hanging out there. So I didn't see people at the actual location for either one, but immediately adjacent, there was a challenge with loitering.
Okay, but as far as the special duty officers or anything, you haven't been abreast of any of that?
I did go by at night several times just to see. I did it myself. I spot checked. And I did notice that there were police officer cars. I didn't get out of my vehicle to go in because I was in my POV. But I did observe at both locations at different times that there was special. The Olive Road one, I didn't see one twice when I went by there. So,
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask the owner a question.
Yes, sir. I am not in the queue. I need somebody to drop off.
Can you get them to state their name?
There you go. All right. Yes, sir. Commissioner Franham?
Yeah, you want to get them to state their name?
Yes, sir. Please state your name and address for the record, please. Thanks.
Say Pack, 731 Marsh Point.
Mr. Pack, since you were here 3 weeks ago now,
Gurpreet.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Gurpreet Walia is 205 Woodhill Trail, Augusta, Georgia.
Is it?
Yeah, my name is Iqbal Mohammed. I'm the owner of Shopper Stop. I live at 789 Locks Way.
All right. So you're with the group who all right, sir. Your name?
You're Olive Road? Yeah. Olive Road.
Oh, we got one Olive Road.
You got one Olive Road, one Riceburg Road. All right, sir, who you represent? You need to state your name and address. Okay. He's president of Glendale Neighborhood Association. All right, just for the record, please state your name and address. Thank you, sir.
My name is Deacon Michael Bussey. I'm president of the Glendale Homeowners Association on Olive Road.
Thank you, sir. Just in the event that question comes. All right, Commissioner Franham, you got the floor.
Sir, since you were back here 3 weeks ago now, you mentioned that, number one, you changed the hours of your establishment, and number two, that you had off-duty officers. Can you state where you are with that and how much they're working, and is it one, is it two, and kind of what you're doing with that?
So just to clarify, Commissioner Branham, I'm the property owner, not the owner of Smart Grocery, the property owner.
Okay.
I went out of the way. I know this was addressing Smart Grocery, but I went out of the way to get the advisement from the commissioners. So we do have the special duty. We will continue that throughout the years. Another thing I did do is I reached out to all the tenants, and we talked about closing at an earlier time, and they all agreed. I believe we're going to be closing all the stores, not just Smart Grocery, but all the adjacent stores nearby, because we're just kind of together on this matter. We're going to close around 11 p.m. I believe Rocky will be open for about 30 more minutes just to help with everybody leaving the premises. But those are the ongoing matters that we'll continue to do.
Okay. And what are the hours of the special duty officer?
They're fluctuating it just, and I don't want to say it because of the loitering issue we have. They're fluctuating it so people won't know the time, if that makes sense. You want me to tell you?
No, I get it. I just think this is, again, where, we have to be, and I appreciate Mr. Director Delaney going and spot checking, but I think that, this is the accountability piece that I heard from the last individual that I think is important when we're up here making a decision, because we're going to get criticized for what we do either way. But if we know that a plan is in place moving forward, then it kind of eases my mind as an elected official up here, and that's why I'm asking.
All right, then we can make it permanently from 6 to 10.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Wayne Guilfoyle.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, this owner, as well as the landlord, they have been proactive ever since they've been called to the floor here as far as hiring security, changing their hours. And, I know it's not good on their business to have people loitering and people doing crimes. It's detrimental to any business. It's detrimental to the customers coming in, and it's detrimental to their profit as well. But I believe we need to let this slide. Let's look at this in 6 months. Let's let it ride for 6 months and see what happens. By taking action as far as probation or taking something away, I don't think that's just for right now. But I do like their stance on being proactive with all their stores, just not this one. So whoever put this on the agenda, I would appreciate if y'all would consider that, to look at this in 6 months, see if it warrants for us to come back and look at it.
Thank you, Commissioner Guilfoyle. Are you stating that in the form of a motion, or are you just?
Whoever the agenda item.
Okay. All right. You got it. All right. Commissioner from the 5th, Commissioner Bobby Williams.
Yes, sir. We just listened to Mr. Allen. He said that he's got 3 security officers coming now, and he said he didn't do this, that, the other. We've got a group of folks here. They're saying that they have security now, but my understanding is that they had somewhere close to 2,000 calls over a period of time. Am I correct? I know you said 17, somewhere close to 2,000 calls, correct, Ms. Delaney?
Get back out. Looks like about that amount. Yes, sir.
Pretty close to 2,000 calls, which means that this is something that's been going on for a while that should have been corrected a long time ago. I'm going to recommend that we do the same thing with them as opposed to, same thing we did to Mr. Allen, 6 months probation. You can still operate. That just means that you're going to be under a microscope. Somebody's going to be looking at what you're doing to make sure that you stay within the ramifications of whatever they give you to do. So my motion is the same thing as Mr. Allen. You got the same problem, pretty much, 6 months probation. Second.
All right, there's a motion and a proper second from Commissioner Brandon Garrett. Commissioner Garrett, you second that motion?
Yes.
All right. We've got a few other colleagues in the queue. Commissioner Sean Franham.
Yeah, and I'm kind of leaning that way as well, just because when you look at the resources that have been put towards these properties, that, loitering's going on, crime, all these different things that are happening, it's affecting the other community because we're down in deputies. Let's be honest about what's the situation of Richmond County. And for us not to hold the feet to the fire, I don't think sends the right message because, and I appreciate the fact that you have an off-duty deputy now, and appreciate the fact that you've going to close earlier. But I think that if to me, this is just, it's the right thing to do because of the history of what's happened. And can I have a question, Mr. Delaney?
Yes.
Ms. Delaney, was there a recommendation? I thought that you were coming back with a recommendation. I don't think I let you say it. Is there a recommendation from P&Z?
In this particular instance, the commission instructed us to come back with probation. The commission instructed us to put that forward as probation.
And you didn't have a time frame?
Typically, we would do 6 months. Historically, we've done 6 months probation.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Franham. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the 10th, Commissioner Guilfoyle.
Okay, as far as out of all them phone calls to the Sheriff's Department, I think the deputy said 882 was for noise ordinance where people were playing the music loud while they was getting fuel. I don't know how you could contribute that to the tenant, number one. Number two is if we have a neighborhood that has a bunch of gangs in it, are we going to go after the residents of that area? Are we going to punish because the way I look at it, they have done everything that they could to survive. And I don't know. We just set in a different precedence for businesses than what I would expect. So be it.
Thank you, Commissioner Guilfoyle. Chair is going to recognize a resident from the Glendale Neighborhood Association. Sir, if you will, you can step to this mic and give your name and address and any concerns you have.
My name is Dan Scott, 1723 Cornell Drive. I am a resident of the Glendale community. I am also the chair of the Glendale Historic Preservation Committee.
Sir? No, all right, continue.
I grew up in this community since I was a child. 40 years, the same thing has been going on due to one issue. It is that store is the only current activity that we have in that area. We don't really want to see the store closed. We don't want to see the store punished. What we like to see the store do is raise up their responsibilities in this community, add more productive opportunities up, or participate with the community, create educational things regarding if people are drinking and causing issues. Let's create some type of educational opportunities or even jobs where the kids can work in the community. That's the issue. Is not that the store is the problem. The issue is that the store is not doing more to add to what's going on up in the front of that, the front of the neighborhood. As for the shootings, that, like you said, that happens anywhere. It's happening all over Augusta. But the presence of more productive things in that community needs to happen. When I was a child, that strip was completely full of businesses, bread stores, things up and down the Olive Road strip until you get to Martin Luther King. It was a movie theater over there. So if the store is open, if this guy Rocky, who owns the store, he knows me. Rocky knows I come to the Fox Den store often.
Yeah, 1 minute.
Okay, I come to the Fox Den store often with ideas of what we could do in the community, and Rocky has listened, but he has not acted. So what I want to see in this next 6 months is Rocky or the store owner, act on more productive activities and things up in that area. Right now, we have an apprenticeship program. I would like to see the store owners.
That's not appropriate for this matter, sir.
It's not appropriate for this matter?
Not for this matter, no, sir.
Okay. So what is appropriate for this matter for this store, to do in this community? Because what we always see the store owners come and speak, but we never see the residents come and speak. We always say you calling gangs and stuff, and saying that type of language. Won't we have some of these gang members and things of that nature come in here and speak? When are we going to have the residents come in here and have a voice? That store makes $25,000 a month out of our neighborhood. We're seeing that money come out of that neighborhood. So we would like to see more economic development and things of that age in that area. Don't close the bridge. Let's raise the bridge between the store and the community.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
It. Listen, there are delegation portions to this commission. You call the clerk of the commission, you get 5 minutes. You know that.
Yes, sir.
So if there's an issue you want to address regarding this, you're more than welcome to address it before this body. Just want to let you know that, okay?
All right. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
can I just get one request?
Yes,
When
sir.
Mr. Dan Scott is talking, he keeps saying the store. I would like a clarification of which store he's talking about. Is he talking about Smart Grocery or Shopper Smart? Because last time they were talking, it seems like you guys were constantly addressing it as Smart Grocery. I think these are two different areas. For people who are viewing and listening to this, it all sounds like Smart Grocery from the way he's addressing it.
Thank you,
Because he's
sir.
not naming the store.
All right, so for clarification, you're talking about the store that's on Olive Road. Is that the one, you mentioned the bridge, so you're talking about the store on Olive Road near the bridge in front of Glendale. Is that the store you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
All right, what is the official name of that store?
The Shopper Stop?
It's called the Shoppers Stop.
Yes,
So for
Shoppers
clarification, Mr. President of the neighborhood, you want to say anything before we close this out?
I want a chance to speak.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Actually, I want to say that I bought that store in 2015. It was a closed down store. It was all broken up. I put too much money into it, fixing all the brand new pumps, parking lot, whole interior. And I took that store has a lot of issues from before only, but now it's getting way better. I don't know why they tied up my store with the Smart Grocery and they're just tying up both stores. But here, I don't have no issue, no violent crimes for a long time. You can check the sheriff records. We only have the issue of loitering over there. So, Mr. President is here. He can tell you what we did. Since this came up, we hired the special duty. We have, as she said, that she saw only one camera, but I need to correct that. We have 16 cameras all around the property. We put up a brand new fence, and we hired the special duty, and they work for 6 hours in the weekends. So since then, the issue of soliciting also has been decreased. So I don't know, they are mixing up with the both stores and trying to give me probation for nothing, so I don't understand that.
Yes, sir. Well, I do know, so I attend church on Olive Road, and I do see loitering. So you do have a loitering problem, which you acknowledged. Yes. All right, sir.
And so,
speaking to the mic, if you don't mind.
yes, sir, I agree with everything he said. I've seen it with my own eyes.
Repeat your name and address for the record, please.
Michael Bussey.
Okay, your address?
2012 Wharton Drive in Glendale.
Thank you, sir.
And so I've noticed the difference in my community. What has happened is he has become overwhelmed, outmanned by the customers or clients, constituents, or whatever from other neighborhoods. It's not the people in the Glendale area, but the outside surrounding subdivisions and all that. Those are the people that's come to his store. and he's just outmanned by that. Yeah, the 2,000-something calls. Yeah, if he see people, he called the police quite often. But what happens is, as soon as law enforcement leave, the guys walk right back to his store. See? But now he's instituted something that don't happen, that the special duty officer there in Richmond County is very tough on that store. You can't stand in front of it now and Lauder, go across the field, or the side field over there. But for it's a store, that it's clean, it's safe. The trash, the marshal has straightened that part of it for his trash around from the community and everything, and he's working really hard with them. And he didn't stay, but him and I talked about it. There's a laundromat attached to that store. He's offered that laundromat to the sheriff department as a substation, to help him out. So since he's been, the sheriff department been really helping him out and getting rid of some of the loitering, Now we have guests coming in the neighborhood, and I get hear good word from them, like, hey, the neighborhood looks good when people come in, and so you can tell the difference, the feel. The kids, they feel safe walking down the sidewalk. The elderly, all of those, and I'm sure he's got more planned for that store, but he's not in the community to make money and just leave because it's, he cares about the store and about the community, and we have a good relationship, working relationship. He actually owns another piece of property that adjoins that store that he allows us to use free of charge, to help the community with events, that kind of thing.
Thank you, sir.
They're very cooperative with me, sir, in the neighborhood, and
Thank you. I got a couple colleagues in the queue, so very briefly, brief, and I have some colleagues that may have questions, so you guys just sit tight, okay? Commissioner Pulliam from the second.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor Johnson. I wanted to clarify that the motion on the floor, is it for them to have one deputy or multiple?
All right. Commissioner from the 5th, you need to clarify your motion. I think he just...
There was a second.
Well, I hadn't heard anything as far as deputies are concerned, but I know they both say that they have deputies. If you all want that as a part of the motion, we can amend the motion. I don't have a problem.
Yeah. And so for me...
Let me know what you want to do.
Yes, because, again, we just had someone come before us, and we said that they needed 3 deputies. Mm-hmm. And that was the tie-in to the probation, was the 3 deputies.
Well, he said...
Was it, or was that...
Well,
Okay, so let me clarify some things. Director Delaney, please.
Sir, if you will, I think you're done. Can you have a seat for me? Just sit tight right there, just in case there's a question for you. Thank you.
The 1,700, roughly 1,700 incidents, I heard that 800 of those were just loud music. Were any of those shootings, or am I getting two? Is it two different cases?
It's two different cases, two different locations. So the incidents that they're talking about is not the Olive Road location.
Right.
This is the Olive Road location.
Okay.
So let's make sure we
at the
clarify
Olive Road location, there's been no incidents.
I don't have the report for Olive Road with me, so.
Okay.
Is there a recommendation that we separate them?
I believe so, because it's getting the water's getting muddy, and I want to talk about the 2 separate issues because they're at 2 separate locations.
Okay.
So can we get that information for the Olive Road? Because that's the one in question, right?
So the sheriff's office presented, and the motion originally had them both together. That's why we're addressing them together. But the recommendation had been from the full commission that we move towards bring back the path forward for probation for these 2 entities. So that's what we have come prepared to do.
Okay. So we're bringing forth probation for the 2 entities, but we don't know what's happened at at the Olive Road location. We don't have those numbers, but we have the numbers for Smart Grocery.
All right. So the sheriff office presented that information, and they were the ones that brought that forward. So it would be what the sheriff's office recommends.
Okay. But we're saying probation for both And I'm just trying to understand, because how can we, I want to make sure if we just sat here and said that we want to try to be fair across the board, we kind of need to know we need to know the incidents for each grocery store, because we just had someone else come before this body and we gave them we specified how many deputies they needed, and we're not doing the same here.
Well, I don't have a problem.
Yes,
if
sir.
you want 3 or if you want none or whatever you want.
Yes,
but
sir.
I do think that both of them have had problems. The one in Glendale, Mr. Commissioner Johnson brought that one up because of the incidents. In fact, he had a sheet on them the other week. Commissioner Johnson had a sheet on them and showed the different incidents at that one, and then he asked for the other ones to be brought in. So they both have had problems, and I just think that we need to be consistent across the board. If we're going to do probation for Mr. Allen, they pretty much had the same incidents or whatever. Somebody said something about you can't pick the people that come to your store. Well, he can't pick the people that come to his club. So we need to think of, are we going to be fair? Are we going to be across the board? What are we going to do? We could pick it apart. We can say you had 1,700 incidents over here and 800 with loud music. Well, you still got about 800 or 900 other calls. I say 50 is too many. So, in the store over at Glendale, Mr. Johnson brought in a sheet that had, some robberies and some other stuff that have happened there at the store. I just think both of them have had problems. I think we need to be fair. I think if you do 6 months probation, you're giving them an opportunity to operate rather than suspending their license. If they can't do what they're supposed to do within that 6 months, then I think we need to go to the next level. I just think we need to be fair. I mean, vote it up, vote it down, however you want to. If you want me to redo the motion, if you want 3 officers, we can do that. If you want no officers, let me know that. Otherwise,
See all the numbers.
say again, sir.
We're trying to see all the numbers.
Yeah, they're trying to put the numbers up for each store, the Pack and Go versus Smart Grocery.
Yeah. Well,
this is Pack and Go. What's the total number?
1,976.
What's the time frame of that?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah, so, to say that nothing's going on at Pack and Go, I wouldn't say.
Okay, all right. And then for the Smart Grocery, what's the number for there?
Slide it up.
2,200.
Okay, all right. So, all right, Commissioner Pulliam.
Okay, and so this is for, what I'm looking at right now is for the store on Olive Road.
The one you're looking at right now is Smart Grocery.
It's Smart
This is
Grocery
Wrightsboro
on
Road.
Wrightsboro
Okay,
Road.
okay.
So 1,700 versus 2,200 in a 2-year span, 3-year span.
Okay.
I would say what's missing from these two versus the other one is homicide. You don't have homicide. The previous case that we're referencing with regards to Gordon Highway, you had homicide. You have some violence, yes, crime, but you don't have homicide represented here. And that is a discerning difference between the two. And in addition to that, the applicant offered 3 sheriff deputy specials. So when they suggested it, we grabbed at it just a few moments ago.
Correct.
So
Correct.
the mandate was predicated by them offering it.
As I understand, Smart Grocers already offered at least 1 deputy, and they're offered to close early, correct?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, and we used the 1 deputy because he's patrolling the parking lot, so he's constantly just riding around in the 2-acre lot that we have, combining both. That's why we're not using 2 or 3. If they recommended us to use more, we would have, but we seen 1 is suffice to get the loitering problem fixed.
All right.
So he's closed at 11:30 now, sir.
All right, so what about the Pack and Go? Are you offering any special? You mentioned also that you have a deputy there, right?
Yes, I also have a special duty officer over there. because it's just single store. He sits over there, and since then it's a lot of improvement, no soliciting or anything.
You got it. All right.
And we are closing the store early too.
All right.
So we just reduce the store hours.
So both of these store owners have agreed to have a special deputy. Commissioner Pulliam?
Announce his time again, so we
All right, we need your time again for the record, sir. Both of you, it's for the record. Your time at Pack and Go.
There's Shopper Stop Pack and Go. I'm closing from 5 a.m. to 11.
5 a.m. to 11, open to close.
Yes, 5 a.m. I open and I close at 11:30.
What is the special duty deputy there, for the record?
From 6 to 10.
6 p.m. to 10 p.m.?
Yes.
Okay.
For Smart Grocery, we have the deputies from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m., and all the stores agreed to close by 11 p.m.
Okay. The question on the floor here is why not have a deputy there until closing to later? Because that tends to probably be, I mean, is there any consideration for that?
Yeah, we don't have a problem doing that.
Yes.
To closing.
I too don't have an issue.
No problem.
To extend till 1 more hour. Yes.
7 to 11?
Yeah.
7 to 11, you agree with that as well?
Yes, 7 to 11. Yes.
7 to 11, all right. Both. You asked to 7, right?
Well, I mean, they typically work a 4-hour.
So we're going to do 6 to 11 or 7 to 11? What's the request? So we have it on the record what these guys are going to provide. 4-hour shifts.
Yes, we can do 7 to 11,
7.
and if the commission is telling
7 to 11.
we can close maybe early also.
All right, we got 7 to 11. All right, so let's go through the queue. We got it documented. Commissioner Pulliam, you still the floor.
Yes. So there were no deaths. There were no homicides because it's not listed on this paper.
None.
Am I understanding that correctly?
I can only go off of what the sheriff's department gave us, and they didn't list it as a homicide. So that's the only document that I have.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Yeah, we're going to get there. Wait a second.
Go ahead to McKnight. She's on there next.
Well, Commissioner Pulliam's not done. She hasn't yielded yet. Commissioner
I
Pulliam.
haven't because again, for me, it's making sure that we are being fair across the board. And I would like that information to know whether or not there were any homicides. I understand you saying that they weren't listed on here, but how do we know whether or not there was an actual homicide that was there? Like, have there been any reported? If we don't have that piece of information, and I totally 100%, I am in agreement. I don't have anything against Commissioner Williams' motion at all. This is, for me, it's a matter of, are we being fair across the board? And if I don't have that information to know whether or not there was a homicide here and we just told someone else because there was a homicide, this is why we are requiring this probation, how do we separate the two?
All right.
And
I don't think it's appropriate to ask them. That will be information we probably need from our law enforcement group in order to determine that. All right. Commissioner Pulliam, if you don't mind, I'm going to move on, okay? We're going to see if we can get that answer for you. All right. Commissioner McKnight, you have the floor, madam.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you, Mr. Pack. You gentlemen have been down here on a few occasions, and I do want to say this does lie in my district as well as Commissioner from the 10th District as well. I've listened to you, and I believe in being fair. And I've listened to a few of my colleagues bring up the fact of, putting out a motion here. But I do want to hear from you real quick. You and I just spoke off to the side. I want to give you the opportunity to say something quickly.
Yes, actually, Commissioner, I don't want any probation because we can close this store if Commissioner is telling close 7 o'clock or 9 o'clock or 5 o'clock, we are ready to close. Any time they're telling is they can save our store and we can stop the crime. Yes.
Okay. All right. Where I want to say, and this is just me speaking because I want to make sure that the citizens, well, the residents too, that are around and that back up to the store or behind the apartment complex, that they're safe and they feel safe. But I see that you're making every effort that you can, and I don't want to close up any businesses.
Actually, we are already lost like 60-70% business because the back apartment is 90% is empty. 10% person is living there. I don't know how they live there, but we already lost all the business. But we can do anything to make this location bring back like before. Yes.
And I was on board a week, 2 weeks ago with the probation, but I have had communication with you all and with others. And I want to be fair. I want to make sure that we, as a body up here, that we do what's right for all. If we're going to do one for one, we ought to stay in line and do it for the others. But with you saying what you want to do, and you've already lost businesses, I'm leaning where Commissioner Guilfoyle is on this. I would like to be able to bring this back in 6 months and see that y'all prove to us that when you're shutting down, that we're watching and monitoring crime and see what's going on. I don't want to hurt y'all any more than you already have been hurt, but I do want to make sure the people around are protected.
We can start closing early, yes. And we trying each, if we need maybe more security, we can extend the time.
Okay,
yes.
When you close at night, in the middle of the night, who's going to be monitoring? I mean, it's going to be...
Because we told 7 to 11 because Officer Lipty will be there, the closing time, yes.
All right, well, I want to be able to give y'all a chance and then maybe come back, yes, in 6 months and see if the situation's gotten better. So... I appreciate
you going to put that in the form of a motion, madam? Is that a form of a motion?
Well, I was going on the...
Substitute motion?
Well, Commissioner Guilfoyle had a motion in place earlier. Can I have him restate it? Oh, you didn't have one? Oh, I thought he did.
Substitute motion.
Okay. Well, I say that we... Okay. All right, well, where I am, I'd like to make a motion that we could come back and visit this in 6 months, let the gentlemen close down at night as they're doing, and revisit this 6 months from, well, today or this week, and see what improvements been done, because your business has already been hurt, but you got security over there, correct?
Yes, yes.
And you're shutting down?
Yes, we shut down.
Okay, I think that's fair. I believe in being fairness.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd say both, yes, ma'am.
That is for both. All right.
Yeah.
The commissioner from the 3rd saying for both. There is a substitute motion. Is there a second to that substitute motion?
For probation.
I can't hear you. Second from Commissioner from the 10th.
Wait. I'm not done here.
All right, we're going to get here. We're going to get there. All right, Commissioner McKnight has a substitute motion. Commissioner Williams?
Yeah, coming back in 6 months, wouldn't that be probation? I mean, if we're going to do something for one, we need to be across the board. They're doing the same thing Mr. Allen said he was doing. And we want to give them a pass as opposed to what we did to Mr. Allen. We just gave Mr. Allen 6 months probation. They're saying the same stuff that he's saying, and we want to give him a pass. I just don't see that. I think as a commission, if we don't do the same thing across the board for people saying the same thing, we're just not being fair. We're just not being fair. I'm not saying anything. You can vote it up or vote it down, what have you, but I need to be able to sleep at night.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And when I do things that I think are fair, I can sleep at night. But folks, it just bothers me that we can't. Don't worry about it.
All right.
Oh my God.
All right, Commissioner from 5th has yielded. Commissioner Sean Franham, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just like the screen to go back to what I had up there because Commissioner Pulliam asked for homicides, and we were given a report on homicides at one of the locations, and they had that up on the screen for a few seconds.
Let's put it back up. So, homicides.
So that is the smart grocery. I mean,
that's smart grocery,
That's Smart Grocery.
and there were 2 homicides, Commissioner Pulliam.
Yeah.
One in 2022 and one in 2023.
Were they in the store or were they parking lot incidents?
I can't testify for the sheriff's office.
Okay.
This is their
All right, so there were two homicides, so we don't know. All right.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, it seems like there's some discord up here, but I'm just going to state again, like, number one, I appreciate what they're saying, closing early, and you're going to have a deputy there. But if there's no action by this body, then they don't have to do anything, so they can do what they want. So second piece is when you have two facilities that had over 2,200 calls and 1,900 calls, and I appreciate what they're doing now, but this was brought to us, by the sheriff's department. In my mind, we're not backing up the sheriff's department if we don't support some form of probation. And yes, they have a plan moving forward, but we're also, 200 plus deputies short that could be going towards other resources. And I think that, yes, we could wait 6 months, but I don't think that really sends the right message because, like Commissioner Williams just said, though they're different, they're the same. I don't think that the other facility had 1,700 calls or 2,200 calls. Yes, they had deaths, but I don't think they had those kind of level of calls. And I think that's where you have to look at it. You can't just assume, and we're not shutting them down. We're asking them to tidy things up. We're asking them to be on probation to make sure that they do tidy things up. I believe that based on what they've said the entire time, if we were to vote for probation, they'll probably even close earlier because they want to make sure nothing happens over the 6 months. And I think it'll in both these communities, we hear about it's not safe around the communities, but I think it sends a message to the community that, you know what, the commission's taking things seriously in Richmond County. And I think that's why the probation, I believe, is the right thing to do, as well as the stats speak to us doing something. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Chair recognizes Commissioner from the second. Commissioner Pulliam, you back in. You got your answer.
Okay. So in our motion, can it be equal to what you just said, Commissioner Williams, as far as what happened in the last incident that came before us with Mr. Allen, the probation and the officers being on site, especially in light of the fact that we now see that there were homicides, and then I pulled up some news reports that said, now it's the news report, so this is not the sheriff. And so I may not even, I may not even need to bring that up. But because we don't have this information right in front of us. Are you okay? Yes, sir. Are you okay with, I'm sorry, are you okay with change?
I don't have a problem. I said probation and they said probation and they all promised one officer.
From 7 to 11. To 7 to close.
From 7 to 11.
All right, there's been a call for the question.
Can I, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Can I make sure that Ms. Pulliam is clear?
Yes, sir, you may. There's already a substitute motion for, she's already got, we got to address that for a substitute motion for us to readdress it in 6 months.
Okay, but Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
I was asking Ms. Pulliam if she's clear on the motion that I made.
You clear, Commissioner, from the second?
That it's probation and they all have said at least one officer. Do you want 3 officers? Are you good?
This is not, let's address this substitute motion first. There's been a call for the question.
Let's address the substitute motion.
All right, Madam Clerk, for the substitute motion. All right. I know, there's been a call for the question. Are you good? All right, let's address the substitute motion. Madam Clerk, just for the record, can you restate it, please?
Revisit in 6 months.
All right, revisit in 6 months. Has been a proper motion and a proper second. Let's vote to revisit this in 6 months.
6 months. That motion fails 2-6 with Ms. McKnight, Mr. Guilfoyle voting yes. Voting no, Ms. Pulliam, Mr. Bobby Williams, Mr. Tony Lewis, Mr. Sean Franham, Mr. Brendan Garrett, Ms. Francine Scott.
All right, colleagues, let's go to the original motion, and that was made by Commissioner Bobby Williams for 6 months probation. The owners have also agreed to have special duty deputies from 7 p.m. till 11 p.m. So let's vote again, Madam Clerk, for the original motion. 6 months probation with the deputy president from 7 p.m. till 11 p.m. Yeah, that may be it. Oh, Lord.
That motion fails 4-4.
Oh, do I get a chance to vote? What?
No,
Okay,
that'll be fine.
Oh, hell, I got excited.
With Mr. Bobby Williams voting yes, Mr. Sean Franham, Mr. Brandon Garrett, Ms. Francine Scott.
All right, Mr.
Voting
Parliamentarian.
no, let me
Okay,
get
I'm
this.
sorry.
Ms. Pulliam, Ms. McKnight, Mr. Tony Lewis, and Mr. Wayne Guilfoyle.
Mr. Parliamentarian, just for clarity, that means no action is taken on this item, correct? All right, your mic didn't come on. Mike.
Sorry, sir. That's correct.
Hey,
All right.
I want a motion to reconsider.
All right.
That would not be the motion to be made. It does not need to be reconsidered because no action has been taken. A person could simply make a motion.
All right, so I'm making a motion that we give them 6 months probation with the officer.
All right, there's a motion and a second with 6 months probation with the officer. Madam Clerk, let's vote. We're voting on the same motion that we made. The motion is for 6 months probation with one officer from 7 p.m. till 11 p.m. One, two, four. Who's for?
Ms. Pulliam. Ms. Pulliam, are you voting? I am. Okay. That motion fails 5-3.
All right.
Take a picture of it.
With Ms. McKnight, Mr. Lewis, and Mr. Guilfoyle voting no.
All right, so no action has been taken in this matter. Next item, Madam Clerk.
I believe that's it.
I think that's, I don't know about that. Approved Newman Tennis Center. What we got?
Oh, 32. We do. Okay. It was on consent. It was pulled.
It was pulled.
From consent.
And 32 was pulled by somebody. Yes.
It was pulled. She wanted to discuss it.
All right, as I understand, we got Newman Tennis Center here, so colleagues, hey, guys, we're still in session. Still in session, please. If you got to exit, please exit quietly. Hello? Marshall. Yeah, he finna get him to move. He got one. He finna get him to move on. No, quietly, exit quietly. All right. All right, Madam Clerk, let's go with this last item.
Item number 32. Motion to approve design concept plan for Newman Tennis Center Phase 1 and continue with the preliminary and final design process. Concept plans created by project manager ISM.
All right, Commissioner McKnight.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I did want to pull this because we do have a few people here in the audience still that have been patient and waiting all afternoon. And so I wanted to hear from Newman Centers. I wanted to hear from Margaret, if she doesn't mind coming up here and just giving us a reason before we do approve this. I felt like it would be fair enough to have her come up and speak on behalf of what Newman's proposing.
Thank you, ma'am. If you will, state your name and address for the record.
Margaret Fawnin, 317 Alex Lane.
Thank you for your patience in staying here.
Sure.
Appreciate you. All right, madam, you have the floor.
Well, I've been at Newman for 8 years. I grew up playing tennis in Augusta. It kept me off the streets, I think. But I'm here just fighting for the members, fighting for tennis for Augusta, to not only resurface the courts, which badly needed. We know our tournaments have been taken away. But tennis is a sport for a lifetime. And on hard courts, as you age, you can't play on the hard courts. So I was opting for trying to fight. The members want 6 clay courts. So what that would do doesn't change the layout, resurface 14, convert 4 to clay, and the other 2 add clay. So a total of 6 clay courts. As far as our tournaments go, as far as revenue, if we average 250 juniors for our level 5 tournaments, if we do it as a clay court tournament or hard court, we can charge every entrant $10 extra. So roughly we made $90,000 last year on tournament entry fees. This would get us up, would be $100,000 off entry fees.
Okay, I've got real quick, Margaret. What about the maintenance? If I see that I did talk to Mr. Ladson about this earlier today, and I see where there are 2 clay courts that have been put here aside for you, and you're wanting 6. According to him, it would be up to the commission and the administrator for us to decide ultimately about these courts. But what about the maintenance? The cost and the maintenance to take care of clay courts, talk to me about the funding, or who do you have that would be, I know I've known you for many years, and I just know that clay courts they need more maintenance, but who would be over there taking care of these, cleaning them? Who do you have on staff?
Currently we have 1 full-time maintenance worker there that maintains, Newman's almost 8 acres, and he takes care of everything. So to be honest, there needs to be a part-time person there on weekends anyway, just for safety reasons, blowing courts, getting the sand off, the leaves off. So really what this would entail, I would imagine, in my vision, would be adding 2 part-time people to help. And we're open 7 days a week, but adding 2 part-time workers to the staff. It does require sweeping in the morning, sweeping it in the middle of the day.
Okay, and let me ask, after talking to Mr. Ladson, it can be done, but like I say, we have to approve it. We have 2 here right now in this drawing, 2 clay courts being proposed. You want 6. I'm looking at, would you be able to deal with 4 clay courts? Could you deal with that for tournaments?
Not for tournaments, you can't.
Okay.
It just, you couldn't put enough events there. If any of y'all are familiar with the club at Rays Creek that went bankrupt and flooded out, all those players that live on this side of Augusta that are not members of the Augusta Country Club, they left and went to Petersburg, which is now Columbia County Racquet Club. So there's those people that would come back. So you're talking, your membership revenue is going to grow as well.
Okay. Well,
but if you're getting 4 courts, as far as maintenance issue, 2 courts adding, it's not going to make any difference.
So between the 2 and the 6, it's really, you're going to be cleaning 2, so you might as well clean 6. If you're going to be cleaning 2, you're going to be cleaning 6.
Correct.
All right. Well, I would like to be able to do this if we could. Mrs. Dowse, Administrator Dowse, do you want to? We've talked a little bit. Do you want to chime in on any of this as far as this drawing, or how are you feeling on it?
No, ma'am. It's up to the body.
Okay. All right. Well, I'd like to propose a motion to approve 6 clay courts for Newman, and
all right, there's a motion.
I put the motion.
6 clay courts. Is there a second before these questions, or you need that question first, Commissioner Franham?
Excuse me.
There's a second. There's a second from the Commissioner from the 10th, so I'm going to come down through the queue, all right? All right, Madam Administrator.
You're the
before I
professional,
get these-
Margaret.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. Commissioner McKnight, I have a clarifying question. Are you clarifying that you want 6 additional courts, or is Ms. Margaret requesting that we repurpose 6 hard courts for clay courts?
No, only repurpose 4 hard courts and add 2 new clay courts.
Yeah.
So it would go from an 18-court facility to a 20-court facility.
18, wait a minute, from 18 to 20.
Well,
All right.
I talked to Mr. Ladson.
All right, wait a second. We need clarification. Director, Central Services Director, I see you shaking your head. Come on up, sir.
Good afternoon, good evening. On the court situation, and the reason why we're going with 2 clay courts now is one, because of maintenance. We did have this discussion, and as we said before, in order for us to add any additional clay courts, we'll have to add additional staff, which funding is not available for at this time. So that's why we're gonna, this is something that we can phase into Newman Tennis Center, where we do clay courts now to see how the maintenance is and what it's costing us, and then kind of grow into the additional courts. So right now, what you see in front of you is us resurfacing the courts that's already existing, adding the 2 clay courts. That way we make sure we'll be able to maintain those before we add any additional clay courts, of course, because this is the first time we're doing this.
Thank you. Ms. Williams, is that is that acceptable? Is that what you understand this to be?
Is it acceptable?
Is it?
All I can tell you is what the members want. And currently, more are going to walk. We've had them already leave, and I will say that at Columbia County Racquet Club, if you're a resident of Columbia County, I think it's $320 a month for dues. These people are leaving and paying $500 because they are not Columbia County residents.
All right, Commissioner McKnight, you put
I
a
did.
motion. How are we going to pay for this? Because I'm not know there's going to be questions.
Well, that's what I was going to talk to Mr. I've been talking to Mr. Ladson, AB, and according to him, there's funding there. I want to do what's right for Newman. Sure. They've been suffering for quite some time. I don't see where it'd be a problem. I played tennis for a long time, and I know that I like to play on hard courts, but I like to play on soft courts too. Bottom line of it is a lot of these tournaments do, a lot of people love the clay courts, and I don't see, we've already lost enough going on with Newman. Why not be able to work with them and give them what they want? I don't understand. We've got 2 clay courts designed. Why not resurface 2 of the hard courts and make them clay courts? Have it as that. That's what I was talking about with Mr. Ladson, so that's where I am on this.
And there, I mean, I'm not going to not be completely forthcoming. There is maintenance, throughout the year. After you do it, you have to replace material, that sort of thing. In fact, Mr. Jackson has asked me to come up with some figures, or a plan, which that's what I'm working on now.
I would think that probably more appropriate before we even vote on it, right? Just to get got to get a costing. But all right, so I'm going to go through the queue here. I'm sorry. Commissioner McKnight, is it okay that I go to Commissioner Fran?
Sure.
He has a couple of questions.
Go ahead.
All right, Commissioner Fran from the 7.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, clarification, because I'm a little bit confused. We currently are at how many courts?
It's 19 total courts.
18.
18.
18.
There's a backboard they consider a
court, yeah.
Okay.
Court.
And with the new design, we're going to 20, with 2 being clay, or is it 16 and 2? Like, what is it?
No, we're converting 2 of the existing courts into clay courts.
Okay, so there's not 20 courts, there's 18 courts total.
Right.
No,
That's what he just said.
That's what.
But I think on the plans, they have 2 new additional courts where the backboard is. So they're going to leave 8. That's my understanding.
And that's exactly what the concept plan shows. Currently, there is a backboard.
Right.
In the new plan, they will be converting the backboard to 2 clay courts.
Right.
And what Ms. Margaret was recommending is that we take courts 5, 6, and 7. Please clarify. 5, 6, 7, and 8. Convert those hard courts into clay courts, which will then give her 6 clay courts.
Okay.
Right, so let me excuse me, the backboard, I guess they, the one with the back, they don't consider it a court, but it's nothing additional that's being added. That's basically.
Okay, let's not talk about maintenance, let's talk about cost of the project. Have you had a conversation with ISM about what that looks like if we were to do the, as suggested, 5, 6, 7, and 8 clay?
I'm in conversations with ISM. ISM. It's not about the cost of the project converting them. Where we get into the conversation is the maintenance of them. And like I said, in order for us to maintain 6 clay courts, we will definitely need additional staff, which then is a different budget item.
And how much would you need?
We're not sure, and that's what Mr. Jackson was getting to that, because we don't know exactly how much maintenance we'll need for those.
I'd like to make a motion to send this back to committee.
All right. There's a motion and a second, a substitute motion to send it back to committee with a proper second from Commissioner Brandon Garrett. All right. Commissioner Guilfoyle, you in the queue?
I am, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Thank you. Number one, why do we have Parks and Recs Department as the department on our paperwork, and we got Ron Lampkin over Central Service when we got the intern, Mr. Charles is here that's filling in for our rec department?
Well, to answer that question, since Central Services does the maintenance up there and we're part of all the projects, I've been here since the beginning on these projects, so I was the one that added to the agenda item. Mr. Jackson is still being caught up on some of the projects as we've been in meetings together, so I was speaking on it because I've been here since the beginning.
How many courts is there?
Well, 18, right, at this point. Right.
Miss Margaret, Commissioner Garrett and myself went to ISM about 2 weeks ago, and we was looking at the different community centers in District 8 in Commissioner Garrett's district. And we were actually enlightened and was shown the plan for the tennis courts, Newman Tennis Center. And Steve Castle had said that you and him had sat down and went over everything. That's how they come up with the drawing and the conclusion of what was needed. Now here it is, after the drawing's been done, we changing the course. Why?
Well, I only met with him I believe last week. And you know, from when it started,
he plays tennis out there too.
Correct. He does play league tennis, yes. From when this started, I was never included, you know, with the previous director in anything because I would have stated it.
I think it might be best we send this back to committee. That way we could bring Steve in, have you here, and have more discussion. So we get it right the first time. We thought we had it right when we were shown the drawing what we have now. Instead of doing a knee-jerk reaction, let's do it right and get what you are requesting and see how it's feasible to, you said you only needed one part-time person to help maintain?
No, I have a full-time, but optimal would be to continue to have him, but have 2 part-timers.
2 part-timers. Okay.
And again, like I said on the weekends, after it rains and sand gets on the court, number one, that deteriorates the tennis court. 2, it's dangerous. And to have leaves that come from the trees, so to not have anyone blow there.
We need something that's such maintenance required?
To blow a hard court?
Well, the clay court, you're going to have to water before use.
You water it at night, and then you'd water during the middle of the day.
Right.
And then you would sweep morning and after you water during the midday.
And every time you sweep, it removes part of the surface?
No, well, it doesn't remove, that doesn't remove it.
Okay.
I'm talking about the hard courts now when they.
I understand the hard courts. Okay. I'm talking about the clay courts.
Okay.
What you wanted. But
all right.
I think Ms. Catherine, I think it would be best.
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, may I?
Yes, ma'am, you may.
Real quick light so that we can all get moving. I'll go ahead. Margaret, I know that today, my motion that I said will not pass today, but I do feel that if we bring this back and we get this right and we talk with some others and get together on this, that we can try to work out something and bring it back. That way we get this done right. I do want to push for the clay courts. But let's bring it back and see what kind of concept we can come up and maybe see where we can do to accommodate you, along with figuring out this maintenance and budgeting. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams, we'll get ready to vote on the substitute motion.
I was about to call for the question
All right,
because
he's
I'm
calling
tired.
for-
I'm about to go to sleep.
Yeah, that's right. All right, Madam Clerk.
Cats.
For the record, there's a substitute motion and a proper second to send this back to committee. Seeing no colleagues in the queue, let's vote. That was
Substitute was to send it back to committee.
So then, next week.
Yeah, and you second it. Yeah.
It's unanimous.
Keeping me on my toes. Thank you. Madam Clerk, does that conclude our business?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This meeting is hereby adjourned. Have a great day.